We'd like to welcome you to a current event and weekly Bible study for September 28th, 2014. And today we're just going to be covering a variety of different subjects. I'm going to start out here with this brief video entitled Vatican Prepares for Imminent Discovery of Extraterrestrial Life. Now, the organization putting this out, I've been on their email list for quite some time to monitor them, and they're exopolitics.org, and they're all about disclosure. They're all about getting our governments to come to the table and admit that, they've been working with them, they've been exchanging technology, this type of motivation. This is where these dudes are new age. They're all about getting the technology. They're all about this is going to be a wonderful thing. And now they're actually pointing to, the Vatican regarding these news stories. So this is actually them reporting on this particular subject. So I believe this guy's Michael Salya, and you're going to be hearing him speak in regard to the Vatican. Now, none of these people, I believe, would be Catholics. They're for the most part, I would say, hardcore New Agers that really want to bring what we would call disclosure of the alien presence. And this is what their motivation is.
Welcome to Exo News TV. I'm Michael Sala. The Vatican is preparing the world's 1.2 billion Catholics for the imminent discovery of extraterrestrial life. Pope Francis has reportedly drafted a major statement about extraterrestrial life and its theological implications that is expected to be publicly released soon. Due to advances in scientific detection methods.
Now, I've reported many times on this subject regarding the Vatican, regarding the Catholic Church, regarding many of the statements that they've made and are making regarding, quote, alien life, and that they could literally be viewed as our space brothers. They wouldn't be, we wouldn't have to evangelize them because I believe something to the effect that they're basically going to concede that they're going to be without sin. So there's no reason to for a species to get saved when there's no sin, and all of these just half-baked, unbelievably stupid garbage statements that the Catholic Church is increasingly making, telegraphing their punches regarding what is coming. And there's a lot of Christians that would totally not even go into this, totally say that, I'm ridiculous for even covering any of this. And I guess all of the effort that has been made in Hollywood and in the Vatican and all of these statements and all of the things that are leading up to this imminent disclosure event, I guess nothing's going to come of it, according to them. I mean, it's all going to be for naught. It's just a big distraction, and nothing will ever come of that. And I see this being the backbone of the strong delusion that God is sending and will send, that the Bible talks about in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. For this cause God shall send them strong delusion, that they will believe a lie, that they might all be damned who receive not the love of the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. When the Antichrist and false prophet comes, they will deceive the whole world, primarily due to signs and lying wonders and miracles. The Bible's very clear on that. And they are going to most likely put themselves in a position where they claim to be the leaders of these alien races, or the ultimate mediators and go-betweens between these alien races and humanity. So, this is the agenda that it appears to be that humanity is being set up for.
That's for the discovery of extraterrestrial life. Pope Francis wants to be ready with a theological statement about first contact. The Vatican's interest in extraterrestrial life is well documented through statements by leading Catholic astronomers and astrobiology conferences the Vatican Observatory has sponsored. The Vatican's scientific interest in extraterrestrial life was publicly revealed for the first time in May 2008 when the head of the Vatican Observatory, Father Gabriel Funes, gave an interview to the Vatican newspaper L'Osservatore Romano. Funes made a series of startling statements about how extraterrestrial life is likely to be more ethically evolved than humans and can be welcomed as brothers. In his interview, Funes said that intelligent extraterrestrial life may not have experienced the fall and may be free from original sin, remaining in full friendship with their Creator.
And this is why we see in report after report after report on abduction cases, which, 2 to 3% of the population of the United States claim to have been abducted. I mean, are they all crazy? Are all these millions of people just crazy? It's kind of funny. The only way that I've ever seen to stop an abduction, is by calling on the Lord Jesus Christ. It's the only way. In faith, in true faith. Not in some New Age Sananda, I'm going to go to some ascended master Jesus. No, not that. But when you do that, in account after account after account, the abduction scenarios always stop, and it's like throwing battery acid on these evil entities. Over and over again. Go to the internet and key in CE4, the letter C, E as in Edward, 4, the number 4, research. With Joe Jordan. They've got hundreds of cases of these abduction scenarios being stopped. So I can understand why the good father, Gabriel Funes, would say that they're free from original sin. I mean, obviously they're not sinful. They just go around torturing and maiming and implanting and doing experiments, and the people, the ones that do get abducted, that are so horrific it just defies the imagination. The pain, these entities literally feed off the fear and the agony that they produce. And at the same time, they're very, very focused in on the reproductive system of humans. Kind of like they were in Genesis 6, when the fallen angels came down and saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, and took them wives, all that they chose, and produced them giants. Yeah, very similar. It's very, very, very similar to that. And so Jesus Christ said, as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the days of the coming of the Son of Man. Well, we're coming full circle. It's just a different veneer that we have got on things now. It's this sci-fi veneer. Whereas before it was more direct. It was more fallen angels literally coming down and imposing their agenda. It's much more subtle now than it was in the days of Noah. Just a different tact that Satan has taken. That's all we're dealing with. So when we have a devil like this Funes, saying that they're free from original sin, it's just unbelievable when these things are so evil and so malevolent and have such a wicked, evil agenda that has been documented over and over and over again. To say that they have no, I'd really like for him to get abducted and for him to get a nice dose of all of this so that he could understand that they're not free from sin. That's for sure. But it really wouldn't matter, because Jesus Christ didn't come and die on the cross and go through all that he went through so that he could save a bunch of Nephilim, a bunch of devil aliens, supposedly, which are nothing more than literally evil entities, devils, with some type of container that they operate in. And I've got into that subject before. Jesus Christ did not come to pay the price for them. So it really would be irrelevant. They cannot be saved. So that would be a pointless thing to even attempt.
A year later, Funes was the organizer of the first ever astrobiology symposium held by the Pontifical Academy of Sciences in November 2009. Funes was soon followed by another Jesuit astronomer, Father Guy Consolmagno, who also became a leading proponent for preparing for the scientific discovery of extraterrestrial life. Consolmagno and Funes have played leading roles for the Vatican Observatory in presenting a theological perspective on the discovery of extraterrestrial life.
So understand, the Vatican has put billions and billions of dollars into these astronomical observatories, astronomy type of thing, and into, I'm sure, paying all of the staff that it would cost to run these things. They've got them all over the world. This is a really big deal to the Black Devil death cult known as the Catholic Church. So that by itself, would make you question. I mean, okay, is anything ever going to come of this agenda? Because obviously there is an agenda here. And I think they want to have all of their satanic ducks in a row for the big day of disclosure.
Most importantly, both have been leading advisors to Popes Benedict and Francis about scientific issues concerning the discovery of extraterrestrial life. What is likely to be the content of Pope Francis' upcoming statement and speech about alien life? An important clue is a forthcoming presentation by Father Consul Magno at a September 18 to 19 astrobiology symposium organised by NASA and the Library of Congress that is titled Preparing for Discovery, a Rational Approach to the Implications of Finding Microbial, Complex or Intelligent Life Beyond Earth.
So now we have the Catholic Church and their astrophysicist dudes yoking up with NASA and the Library of Congress in concert, in lockstep. So I think they're all going to make sure that they're all on the same page when this all happens.
Consul Magno will discuss the theological implications of discovering alien life. His topic, Would You Baptize an Extraterrestrial?, reveals that Pope Francis agrees that extraterrestrials are capable of the higher ethics involved in understanding the Christian message and becoming Christians.
It's kind of funny, though, because when they abduct these people over and over, they present the exact opposite of what the Bible teaches. That basically, either they'll tell them that Jesus never existed, and they always seem to focus in on the message of the Bible and on salvation. Well, if you were Satan and you were trying to deceive people and you were trying to get them into hell, that's what you would do too. And that's what they go for. They don't care about Hinduism, Buddhism, Zoroastrianism, Mormonism, or any other religion where all their adherents are already on their way to hell via the false works-based gospel that they teach. They don't care about it. They care about the message of Jesus Christ being crucified on the cross, Him shedding His blood to pay our sin debt. That's what they focus in on. His death, burial, and resurrection. Salvation through Him. That's what they want to put doubt in your mind about. It's funny that all of these people that come back, that's what they always say. That they were brainwashed into believing that the crucifixion never really happened. Hey, we've even got footage that it never happened. And this has been said over and over and over again. And on these Day of Disclosure, that's what they're gonna heavily key on. Hey, you got it all wrong here. Yeah, there was a Jesus. He was an ascended master Jesus. But you got the history all wrong. He didn't die for your sins. He didn't come here to pay. Your whole Christian religion is a big lie. And he's one of us. Here he is. His name's Isa Sananda Emmanuel, or Master Jesus, the ascended master version, knockoff Jesus. And he's one of us. He's one of our ascended masters that are going to help bring humanity from the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius. He's going to help you he's going to help you get from the old world order into the new world order, particularly what they focus on any religion that would consider itself Christian. I've already got into this. Key in Master Jesus or just Jesus in the keyword search box at contendingfortruth.com or Sananda. And I've done several teachings on it. What they're saying, not what I'm saying, what they're saying he's going to do. And he's going to be one of them. So he's going to be the one in charge of deceiving all the Christian masses and getting them on the whole, New Age, pagan, Antichrist, false prophet roller coaster into hell is what his goal is going to be. To make sure that there's no semblance of faith left on earth. No true biblical Bible-believing faith. They want to steal and rob your faith. That's what this is about. They want your soul, and that is literally what they're coming for. To deceive and to delude, and so that there's no power on earth, there's no power in prayer to fight them. It's not going to happen. I mean, yeah, there's going to be many, many that are deceived. The Bible is clear on that, but they're not going to get everybody. There's always going to be a remnant that's going to be there to fight them. Through the Lord Jesus Christ, His shed blood, His holy angelic host, and the sword of the Spirit, which is the Word of God. So they have their plans, but you know what? God is greater. Infinitely greater.
In fact, in March 2014, Pope Francis clearly expressed his thoughts on the subject when he said he was willing to baptize Martian visitors if they asked. Pope Francis' upcoming...
So the Pope said this, that he would be willing to baptize Martians. I mean, this is the insane world we find ourselves in.
Statement about extraterrestrial life is likely to emphasize that there is no incompatibility in Christian teachings with a belief in extraterrestrial life. More importantly, Pope Francis is likely to emphasize themes of extraterrestrials not sharing in original sin, being more ethically evolved, and being capable of sharing the Christian message and becoming our brothers in Christ.
Yeah, can you imagine going to church and having Mr. Devil Reptile Alien next to you in the pew over, and let's take communion together. Let's break bread and drink wine and do the whole, let's really go all out. Come on, let's strong grip of the lion's paw like the Masons have, where they shake each other's hand that way. And well, you might as well throw some Freemasonic initiations in there. I mean, come on. I mean, we're dealing with pure evil here. I can see that. I could see me kind of doing that, getting into that, and giving, like they say, okay, turn around and give everybody a handshake and greet everybody around you, and giving, Mr. Reptoid Alien a big, nice hug, and, I don't know, I'm crazy that way, I'm a friendly kind of guy.
The Vatican's evolving public position shows how it is preparing the world's Catholics for the imminent discovery of alien life from a theological perspective. Not all will welcome such a statement by the Vatican due to the controversy over the possible motivations of extraterrestrials. A statement by Pope Francis on various themes associated with the view that extraterrestrials are potential brothers in Christ is a welcome position to take on a controversial issue with major world significance.
Our brothers in Christ. And again, isn't it funny how we only, even the New Age alien tinfoil hat wearing dudes only care about what will the aliens' relationship be with Christ? Can they be our brothers in Christ? I mean, can you imagine you go to an independent fundamental Baptist church and you have your altar call and you got like 14 aliens that go up there? Well, bless God, we got us a big gaggle of aliens that got saved up here. Brother whatever. You can't even pronounce their names because they're, supposedly from some other star system, and they can't even hardly communicate with us. But it's funny, they have a penchant for drinking human blood and eating body parts of humans. So that might be a problem, as far as, gatherings and going out and fellowshipping together afterward. I don't know. I mean, call me crazy. Okay, so that was that wonderful video. So I posted a ton of the teachings I've already done on this subject, because I've covered the subject at length. I'm just going to read off some of the titles. I literally am putting the links right here at the start of the PDF for September 28, 2014. First one, Vatican easing humanity toward alien disclosure. And now it's not even easing. It's like, shoving humanity, should be. That's a 3-part study. And then preparation for alien UFO deception in high gear. There's a separate one there. And then strong delusion, ETs, aliens, UFOs, Nephilim, and the Grenada Treaty, which you might want to check that one out if you've ever wondered if our government entered into any kind of treaties with these evil demonic entities. And then UFOs, aliens, fallen angels, Nephilim in the days of Noah. Then the UFO phenomenon, the next great challenge for the church. But for the most part, the church is going to have no answer whatsoever for this. Particularly the 501c3 corporate church already yoked up with the government, which will all be on board going down the same, railroad to the same destination called the New World Order. So, ultimately, they're all going to get on board. That whole system. And it's called the One World one world system, the New World Order under Antichrist and false prophet. Ultimately, that's where all this is heading, which does confirm the Bible. So this shouldn't do anything to shake our faith. This is what the Bible predicts. It just doesn't get into the minute details of how it's all going to come to pass. But it is all coming to pass the way the Bible did say. Now, let's get into the next subject. I sent out a warning about this, and I apologize. I waited too long to actually get out that newsletter, because this has actually just ended today. I sent out a newsletter, though, a couple days ago. It's entitled Transformational Festivals Dwarfing Burning Man, which Burning Man was the big thing they just had in the desert, where it's all these pagans get together and just do the most hedonistic, basically practice witchcraft, New Age garbage to their heart's content. They gather out in the desert for, several days in Nevada, I believe. It's north of Reno. That's Burning Man. They've done that for many, many years now. Well, these types of festivals, though, have a lot of different flavors, and more of them are cropping up all the time. The one we're talking about today is called Tomorrowland. And this is the largest global hedonistic pagan festival in U.S. history. It's held in Atlanta, Georgia, 26th, 27th, 28th, and today's the 28th. So I've been aware, I've reported on some of these a little bit. This is just so far off the scale where this world is heading, and the amount of time, effort, money that is being expended by Satan and his minions working through human emissaries to implement his agenda. These are transformational festivals. What they're trying to do is transform your mind into one that is of pure darkness, essentially, is what it all boils down. Now, on the surface, they from a worldly standpoint, this is about love, joy, peace, and having fun and expressing yourself and doing all of this stuff. There's nothing negative about it. It is pure pagan debauchery. It is totally giving into the flesh, is what these festivals are all about. And I had a listener email me some of this information, and then I started listen to the interview, which I'm going to post here, and then I did quite a bit more study on this to kind of compile what we're going to be going over here. Now, here's some pictures. I've included several pictures. The first one, you can't believe the amount of people that are at these things. I mean, there are hundreds of thousands of people at these things. And the first one, we see the stage where you've got some pharaoh-like figure, some picture of it. There's all types of it's like rave music, but you're combining it with, flat-out witchcraft, binaural beats, all types of lighting and things that they're doing with the projections that they're putting in front of you. There's so many different ways that when you go to one of these things, you are literally adopting devils into your own flesh. I mean, that's what this is about, is getting you maximally demon-infested so that your mind is so darkened with sin, you'll never, ever in a million years have a chance of getting saved. Because your conscience is seared with a hot iron. You've been turned over to a reprobate mind. And this is what Satan's wanting to get humanity doing. He wants to get them all to that state as quickly as possible. So he emphasizes a lot of this too into the youth. And it's done in a number of different ways. You have a lot of the TV programming and the cartoons as you're going, and then the video games, and then there's just so many ways that it's being done. But these are for young. I believe you've probably got to be 21 to go, because I know there's a lot of drinking involved, and you have to buy these tickets up front. And I think that the way that it's always portrayed is Caucasian or white-skinned people. I don't see any people that are of the black races at these things. Now, I've been so much accused of being a racist for even bringing up subjects like that. I'm just telling you, for some reason, these seem to be wholly focused in on white, Caucasian or Asian white-skinned races. I don't know why, really. But that is when you see every picture they use, every ad they use, and they're all like, they all look like they're, in the prime of physical shape. The women are scantily dressed. Typically, the guys typically don't have shirts on, and all of them look like they're like fitness models or something. That's how they have went through so much time and effort to project a certain image of, here's what you're going to experience when you come here. And all of these really good-looking Caucasian people and Asian people and this is what we're all about, and having fun and lesbians together and gay guys, and they have that too. And I'm just telling you, that's what they're doing in this. Okay? Why 100%? I'm not 100%. I know that the more attractive, obviously, they portray people, the more people are going to be drawn to it. That's obvious. And the more scantily clad women, the more guys, men are going to be drawn to this, obviously. I'm talking like from a worldly perspective here. So, and then the second picture you see here is of the tents. So you can stay there on the grounds, and you get to stay in your own little tent. And here's a little, this picture, you can't even believe it. There's thousands, it looks like, I don't know how many tents there are, but it's like as far as the eye can see, just about. It's unbelievable. And that's I guess, where their accommodations are. It's kind of like getting back to nature type of thing. So, this is a fact. The largest global transformation festival tomorrow ever held in the U.S., which dwarfs Burning Man by comparison in size, reach, and global scope, will be this year in Georgia, September 14th. Changes countries annually for the past 10 years. This year, it will have nearly 200,000 participants for 3 straight days. It broke every record for every global ticket sales of any type of event, including the Olympics and the Super Bowl, when it sold out of the available 180,000 tickets electronically in 1 second. With 2 million attempted simultaneous purchases. 2 million people wanted to go. It sold out in 1 second. 180,000 tickets. This is how bad. Can you imagine if you had what you could scalp these tickets for? You know what I mean? Let's say some guy or whatever got like 10 tickets, and he's like, okay, I'll sell them. I can't even imagine what you could sell these things for. Because this is not a cheap event. So the people that are doing this already have money, most of them, I think, at least money to do this. There's people that are going to come from all over the earth, 4 corners of the planet, to go to this thing. So that's not cheap. Why is no one covering this? At this point, there seems to be no evangelical outreach, and a very small number of Christians are even aware of this. The father and son from Nevada below. Now, I'm reading from what the listener that sent me this information. The father and son from Nevada, who have been witnessing outside of the Burning Man Festival since 1997, are the only ones they see at the event. I'm not sure if that means they're going to this one, or if they're... I know they've been at Burning Man. I did listen to the interview. So imagine that this will have little to no outreach, little prayer, warning, and exposure at this point, which would be 2 weeks out. That's when he had wrote this. Now, some Bible verses relating to this before we go any further. Deuteronomy 18:12. For all of these that do these things are an abomination unto the Lord, and because of these abominations the Lord thy God doth drive them out from before thee. Now remember what I said before, and the Bible said this on very clear occasions, like whenever you have particularly really perverse things going on in a nation. And in that particular case in Deuteronomy, the Bible verses I'm thinking of, it referenced bestiality, and it referenced men with men, women with women. Okay, these are moral commandments. These are things that don't change. They're always going to be an abomination before God. The Bible says, I am the Lord, the God of all flesh. I change it not. Okay, so these are always going to be an abomination before God. There's multiple verses in the New Testament as well, which condemns homosexuality or bisexuality, or, all of that garbage that goes into that arena. And it says about these things that they defile the land, and because of these things that the land vomiteth out her inhabitants. So now as we have this type of behavior increasing at a breakneck speed, and in the sins of, in this particular case, America, reaching into the heavens, God's only going to put up with so much of it before judgment comes. It's just the way it always works out in the Bible, every single time. When that happens, I don't know. I think God's been very merciful. I think a lot of the mercy is due to the remnant that's here. I think that the remnant that is in America and elsewhere has stayed the hand of God from judgment on planet Earth for a long time. And then it says in the next verse, thou shalt be perfect with the Lord thy God. Jeremiah 7:28, but thou shalt say unto them, this is a nation that obeyeth not the voice of the Lord their God, nor receiveth correction. And when you see the images of these things, it's like, wow, yeah, they're definitely not obeying the voice of God. Okay? This is unbridled just carnality and debauchery that's being glorified, essentially. And witchcraft. Really what a lot of this boils down to is witchcraft. Is what they're participating in a mass witchcraft event, which ultimately the goal of Satan regarding that also would be to usher in the Antichrist and false prophet through all of this negative energy that devils and demons literally feed off of. So that's what this is about as well. Now I've done several teachings on witchcraft. If you just key in witchcraft in the keyword search box at contendingfortruth.com, and now I get into that subject at length as well. Basically, witchcraft is going to be the coming backbone, the common denominator of the one world religion under Antichrist. You can take an amalgamation of every single false Black Death cult on the planet, whatever ism you want to pick, Buddhism, Catholicism, whatever, all of these works-based death cults, and amalgamate them into one system with witchcraft as its backbone, and that is what I believe will be the coming one world religion under Antichrist and false prophet. Most likely. I mean, it's going to be probably pretty close. So, but thou shalt say unto them, this is a nation that obeyeth not the voice of the Lord their God, nor receiveth correction. Truth is perished, and is cut off from their mouth. Luke 16, verse 15, part B, God knoweth your hearts, for that which is highly esteemed among men is an abomination in the sight of God. See, these types of events are highly esteemed among the world, but they're an abomination in the sight of God. Isaiah 66, 3 and 4, yea, they have chosen their own ways, and their soul delighteth in their abominations. When you see images of these concerts that they put on, these rave-like binaural beats with all of the satanic imagery and all of the satanic music. And only God knows all of the drug abuse that has to go on along with this, because these things go on for hours. Well, you have drugs like crystal meth and these types of drugs that are really, really good at keeping people up for long periods of time so they can party hardy into the night. Well, I guarantee you the drug use there is probably off the scale. What do the drugs do? Well, you have the word for sorcery, the root word for sorcery in the KJV being pharmakia, which is where we get pharmacy, pharmaceutical, this type of thing. The root word for sorcery is pharmaceuticals, essentially, or pharmakia. And that's an integral part of any witchcraft ceremony, is going into an altered state of conscience through these drugs, which actually act as gateways for devils to come into you and to dwell in you. So you go to one of these transformational festivals, it'd be interesting to know on a spiritual level how many more demons you come out of that festival with. How much more demon infested am I now, God, than before, the 3 days before I went in? Only, the Lord and His angels and I'm sure the forces of darkness know these types of things. But it'd be kind of interesting to know that. What's happening to a person literally on a spiritual level. Yea, they have chosen their own ways, and their soul delighteth in their abominations. I will also choose their delusions. Doesn't that kind of sound like 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, where it says, and for this cause God shall send them strong delusions? Or delusion that they will believe a lie? That they might all be damned, who received not the love of the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness? This is a matter of heaven and hell we're talking about here. It's not a matter of some trivial thing. Oh, well, that's harmless kid stuff. They just went to some transformational festival. No, they're delighting in their abominations. They're choosing their own ways. They're not receiving correction. They're not obeying the voice of God. They're doing things that are an abomination in God's eyes, and they're loving it and begging for more. It's a really serious matter to God. So it says, I will choose their delusions, I will bring their fears upon them, because when I called, none did answer. When I spake, they did not hear. But they did evil before mine eyes. I mean, this whole concert is nothing but pure evil. What goes on there the whole weekend is pretty much all pure evil. And chose that which I delighted not. Psalm 97 verse 10. Ye that love the Lord hate evil. That's what a Christian is supposed to do. Hate evil. I'm just going to play a little bit of their intro. I'm not going to this is like a 30-minute thing, but I'm just going to give you a little sampling of the intro. And I don't really, one good thing about playing audios is we're not seeing the images that go along with. Nobody's naked totally or anything like that, but obviously they're not addressed appropriately, and it's an advantage of doing audios like this because you're not getting the full effect. I try to be cognizant of that. So I'm just going to play a couple minutes of this so you can kind of understand a little bit about what we're dealing with here. And that's also why I put the pictures in the PDFs, so you could get an idea of the scope of what's going on.
People of tomorrow. The key was hidden from the eyes of the world, and is now found again by the purest of heart.
So, the purest of heart can only find the key, evidently, to Tomorrowland, when it's the exact opposite of what they're saying.
The sacred guardians of the key were appointed by nature itself.
So this is very New Age Mother Gaia, a video here where it shows this real pretty girl with long hair. She's in this dress that's kind of inappropriate, all her back showing. And she's walking through the woods, and she has a key, and it's so almost puts you in mind of The Hobbit or something like that, one of those types of shows, and she's got this key.
To protect the machine and guard its sacred purpose.
The machine they're in reference to is this machine at Tomorrowland that evidently is in charge or is the one that puts out, I believe, the entertainment for the weekend. Something along those lines.
Until a time came when humankind needed its power once more.
Now it's showing some elaborate, crop circle, but it's like a crop circle that's literally advertising for this event. I don't know if it's real or if it's Photoshop, but knowing them, who knows? I mean, they have spared no expense in these videos. I mean, these are top-notch, high-end videos. The event that they put on is, I'm talking, they are spending millions upon millions of dollars to put this on. So, what does that tell you? This must be very important to Satan that this go forth and that this prosper. And another thing that it's very, very much like is it's like a lot like Walt Disney World. And we're going to get into that a little bit later, how it relates to Disneyland. Because they've got like big mushrooms and multicolored big mushrooms, like Alice in Wonderland type of visualization. You know, so many different elements that they're combining to kind of, I believe, get you to lower your guard. Oh, it's so Walt Disney-like, and it's like Disney World, and, you know, one of those things. And that's how I think they want people to look at this. So now they're showing the people coming from all four corners of the planet. Some of them I rent jets to come over here. They decorate the jets. I mean, these people have to have a ton of money to be able to do this stuff. I mean, there's a whole, big, this one's coming from Brussels, and it says Tomorrowland on the side of this big jet. And all the people in there are going to Tomorrowland. It's really crazy the amount of money that is being spent on this. Not only in the event, but to get people there. And you come there, most people stay in these little tents, and they have their, I'm sure that it's probably like one big orgy the whole weekend, you know, with these tents or whatever. I mean, this is the type of thing that Satan really loves, that is near and dear to him. They're showing all these really attractive people, just, oh, it's so fun and wonderful, and nothing bad ever happens here. Hundreds of thousands of people. They're showing all these different images of this literal city that they erect in the confines of this Tomorrowland, nether, dream-like, Alice in Wonderland, Walt Disney, Satan world. I mean, it is just insane the amount of money they must have spent. You should see these aerial views of the people. I mean, it looks like way more than 200,000, but I'm just telling you what I'm seeing here. I'm imagining this is probably a compilation of a lot of different, I don't know, maybe events they've had in the past as well.
I was working at a terrible job, and every time I saw the after movie, it just made me super pumped up to come here. It took us like half an hour to get all the financial situation taken care of, but it was the greatest feeling of my life.
I'm not even sure what that was about. It was something about, I don't know, him getting there. And now they're showing all these people uncorking champagne or whatever. Maybe this is the kickoff.
Hey, we're here. We made it.
Tomorrowland is awesome. It's the best thing. You need to go. Amazing.
This is their 10th anniversary. You got all these people they're interviewing, and they're saying, oh, Tomorrowland's so awesome. And, I mean, these people, I mean, when you sell out of 180,000 tickets in 1 second, well, then there's obviously a ton of motivation to get to this thing. And now they're showing the concert, and I mean, it is just, you cannot believe the amount of people that are in one spot here. And that's the type of music they play the whole weekend. This rave-type music with these binaural beats and all of these different stages and things they do. I mean, it is just unbelievable. It's hard to even describe. I mean, listen, I'm no angel. I did a lot of bad stuff when I was young. I was into really hard rock music. I went to Iron Maiden concerts. I went and saw, like, a lot of, hard rock groups. And I'm telling you right now, I have never seen anything like this. This is a whole other level of satanic things that they're trying to do in order to get you as demon-infested as possible. I mean, it's just unreal. So, okay, so we heard that, and now we got this email a couple days ago from a listener named Steve. Tomorrowland is going live on YouTube and other platforms in 10 minutes, and then it's 7 p.m. This is when I got the email. It's very satanic. Opening shows pure Satanism. And he said something about the opening of the book. I thought you might want to pray against this. There's 3 million plus subscriptions to that channel, which is the channel that is the official channel on YouTube for Tomorrowland. The Psalm 86 channel on YouTube did a good video of exposing it, and others as well. And one man is footing the bill, a multi-billionaire. The music is a techno music, binaural beats is the so-called music. It's propaganda that's getting them ready for the world teacher, Maitreya. Now, I've done many teachings on Maitreya, M-A-I-T-R-E-Y-A. Key it into the search box at contendingfortruth.com. Done many teachings on him. Likely candidate for some type of... He claims he's everything. He claims he's the awaited one world savior of all the major religions, okay? That's what he says. I'm not saying he's the Antichrist or the false prophet, but I do believe he's going to play a pretty major part if he's not one of them. And so, anyway, he says, God have mercy upon those ignorant souls going to this satanic event. 2 Corinthians 4:4 says, in whom the God of this world, meaning Satan, hath blinded the minds of them which believe not, lest the light of the glorious gospel of Christ, who is the image of God, should shine unto them. I just put that verse in there. Because these people are blind, you know. And then he gives me the link to their YouTube site for Tomorrowland. And I just clicked on that. And yeah, because it's over. It should be over now. I mean, they've got some pictures on here of one girl in particular. Boy, she dressed like a pagan. It's going to get more and more overtly occult as these things develop. I mean, Burning Man's totally in-your-face occult. I mean, that's just flat out, we're witches, we're here, we're New Age, we're here to work witchcraft. We're gathering together because there's more power in mass witchcraft than there would be in a solitary practitioner trying to do that. Okay, so now I'm going to play, almost 3 minutes of a video of a guy that's exposing some of this. And I'm just going to kind of let this roll now. It's called Tomorrowland 2014 Expose Illuminati Transhumanist Festival.
Just this past week, there was another Tomorrowland festival. This is a festival I've covered in a video last year. But this year it's even more obvious. The occult symbology, and not only the logos and the symbology I exposed before, but this year, the whole thing takes place in front of the machine, and it's controlled by the machine, and the machine introduces each artist. I thought this time it's well worth exposing this festival, since the video was removed by the festival last time, and it seemed to gather a lot of interest, and that's probably why they did it. So here we go, guys. Just remember, this stuff is all about the energy, and it probably takes place on a ley line, just like Glastonbury and other festivals. And it's all about the negative energy gathering, and I'll expose this festival and the music rituals in this video.
Okay, so if you don't know what a ley line is, they're lines that are on the earth that are straight lines, and many of them cross each other. And occultists will build buildings or have certain events on these ley lines because they believe they can tap into the dark satanic energy that emits from them. And where the ley lines cross, that's a main area where a lot of times they will try. And it's a proven fact. There have been a lot of studies done where there's a lot of major structures on these ley lines in major cities across the world. And that's what he was in reference to.
Thanks guys for watching. Peace to you all. Oh, and if anyone from the festival is watching, you're never going to stop the truth movement exposing the symbology you use. If you don't like people exposing the symbology you use at your festivals, then I suggest you don't use the symbology at your festivals, because there's 1,000 other truthers who will expose you and re-upload videos anyway. I believe we live in a free society, and we can critique and comment on media that you are putting out there. Don't use copyright as a veil for your practices. Tomorrowland is a major music festival. It's located in Belgium each year, and has recently extended to Georgia in the United States. The festival in total attracts over 250,000 people. After seeing several images and videos lately of pictures from the event, I was overwhelmed by the esoteric and occult symbolism being used, and especially how it's being disguised as positivity and love. Because of course the greatest deception of alternate agendas is to masquerade as good and light. Tomorrowland is not a new concept. It's often been a focal point of Walt Disney himself, but even an area of Disney theme park is called Tomorrowland. Next year, Disney...
Yeah, I mean, did you realize that even an area of Disneyland is called Tomorrowland? I mean, that's how this has been almost like programming that's been put into humanity's mind for a long time. Now it's more of a manifestation of this. And it has a very Disney-like feel and theme to it.
Will release a movie under the same name.
There's a movie from Disney called Tomorrowland that is going to be released December of this year. Okay, so I don't think there's any coincidence going on there.
Now, Walt Disney himself was a 33rd degree Freemason and dreamed of a future utopia, uniting the world under the guise of a new age of love and spirituality. Although it sounds good on the surface, it's just a tool of the New World Order, or the New Order of the Ages, in which a one-world government, religion and money system will form the empire of the Antichrist. Now let me show you over the next...
One world money system as well. We're going to get into that in a little bit, how it relates to this festival. Because there's so many agendas afoot with these types of festivals on a brainwashing scheme level as well.
10 to 15 minutes, some of the symbolism I spotted in the Tomorrowland Festival.
Okay, now I'm going to stop there. If you want to watch the rest of the video, you can. He kind of... That video was really good, that intro, but it kind of gets like, I don't know, a little bit disjointed and drawn out, and it doesn't really stay on point as well as I'd like it to. So I'm going to go ahead and just progress with the study here. Now, this whole event is based strictly on a cashless society. You know this right up front when you go there. There's no money that is allowed in Tomorrowland, okay? And this is just, to me, unbelievable. I'm going to go ahead. This is from their official site. I'm going to play you the audio about this aspect. So this is called Tomorrowland 2014. This is from their official website of Activate Your Tomorrow World Bracelet. Okay, so here we go.
Once you receive your Tomorrow World treasure chest, it's your turn to awaken the magic within. After opening your...
Doesn't this sound like Disney? You know? I mean, it's like... So you get this Tomorrowland bracelet with this occultic symbol and the all-knowing Eye of Lucifer on it. I haven't really described the symbol, but that's what it kind of looks like.
Treasure chest. Go to tomorrowworld.com/mybracelet to register your bracelet. Fill in all the required data. Your bracelet UID, a 12-digit unique ID number on the back of your bracelet, and your 8-digit PayLogic order number, found on your e-ticket, or by logging into your account at paylogic.com. Tomorrow World and Dreamville will be lands free of cash and credit cards. Vendors will only accept virtual tokens, so make sure you don't leave home before topping up.
Just like the Mark of the Beast. No more credit cards, no more cash, none of that stuff. You just wave your hand over the scanner and it debits your account. Everything's tracked. Everything's kept, in the Mark of the Beast. And you wear this bracelet on your right wrist, the same place you would take same place you take the Mark of the Beast, either on your right hand or your forehead. And they specifically say right wrist. Yeah. Unbelievable.
After
Taylor's like shaking her head.
You will have the option to top up on tokens before entering Tomorrow World to save yourself from waiting in line within the festival.
It's like going into Chuck E. Cheese where you get your tokens, and oh boy, I'm going to play a video game. It's like getting you back into that mindset of cashless and, you got to use tokens and you can't,
For every $100 you add before Tomorrow World begins, you will magically receive a 5-token bonus. You can
magically. You also get a free box of Lucky Charms with every $100 top-up.
Even enable auto top-ups to make sure you never run low on tokens. Once you activate your bracelet, beware, as your bracelet is strictly personal. When you arrive at Tomorrow World, Make sure you wear your bracelet on your right wrist, and just walk through the gates. If you're staying at Dreamville, your bracelet will grant you access and be your wallet.
Dreamville is all the tent city they have where they have all the orgies at night.
To use your tokens, simply walk up to any vendor and tap your bracelet on the Tomorrow World icon to open a transaction. Order your items and tap again on
Just like you would the Mark of the Beast.
the icon to confirm. That's it. If you run out of tokens, simply visit any top-up station on site or log in using your mobile phone and add more money. These are the only spots on site that accept cash or credit. And if you add too much, you will be eligible to receive a refund after the festival. Just make sure you log in to request one. Prepare for the madness. And remember, yesterday is history. Today is a gift. Tomorrow is mystery.
Anyway, you can see that they've went out of their way to really try to do this as, oh, this is such a wonderful, wonderful, whimsical time you're going to have. And, it's such brainwashing. So, your personal bracelet is your festival ticket and will serve as the sole form of payment within Tomorrow World in Dreamville. All bars and food vendors will only accept cashless tokens. Our Tomorrow World currency. Think about it. Tomorrow World. What are they saying? They're saying the world of tomorrow is going to be cashless. The world of tomorrow, you're going to have a mark in your right hand or forehead whereby which you'll use that to do all types of transactions. This is getting you ready to take and accept the mark of the beast. I mean, the bracelet in and of itself is occultic. It's got the all-knowing eye of Lucifer right on there. All kind of MK Ultra mind control. There's like a butterfly underneath it. It's total satanic brainwashing. Okay, so continuing further, in the interview I posted below, this is the listener that wrote me. In the interview I posted below, the father and son from Nevada are on call and are set up and witnessing for Jesus Christ at the Burning Man Festival this year. As the host said near the end of the interview, this is something that he does not see the other podcasters or the church engaging, or even truly aware of, or prepared to engage. I would agree. This interview woke me up as it was not in my vernacular, let alone on my radar. The fact that it sold out globally in 1 second, according to Mr. Tikrib, setting an unprecedented record for any type of event, really shows the seriousness of this movement. Also, that the dialogue in this is, in the Christian community, seems to be almost completely off the radar for the most part. The father and son team said that they're the only ones they've ever seen outside the Burning Man Festival witnessing for Christ. That too is a very important reason to spread the word, as there would seem to be a huge need to both have people at these festivals to witness and to also bring the movement to light. Well, I will say this. With the Tomorrowland, I think there's no possible way you're even going to get in there. Because this is all controlled through, okay, you got to purchase these bracelets up front. They sell out in 1 second. And you might be able to do some stuff in the parking lot. I don't know. But there's no way you're getting in the front doors. I'm not saying that to discourage anybody. I just don't think personally you're going to be able to go into there. What I think would be good to do is if you knew where the event was going to be held in advance, you go there ahead of time and literally pray over that land. Okay? And then while the event is going on, you get as close to that event as you can and you pray regarding that event while it's actually going on. I think you're going to get more results doing that. And I'm not saying not to have people witnessing, okay? If that's an option. I don't know what type of security they have there. I don't know what you would run into. But I would suspect if people are putting out this much money, that this is going to be a very private event, and I don't think that they're going to let anybody in there that is going to be witnessing. I'm not saying God couldn't give you favor, but I think the other approach would be something that you would want to do regardless. And that might be the door that actually opens up the chance for you to witness. Is what I'm saying. In other words, what I'm saying is I don't think without a lot of prayer, somebody going to an event like this, I don't think they would have any really chance of having a whole lot of success unless they had prayed and fasted and really it would be preferable if multiple people were doing it ahead of time to pray over the land ahead of time if possible, to literally go there while it's going on and to pray. And to try to get as many, tracks and things like this into the hands, to pray over the tracks. I think that's very important as well. That the seed is actually fruitful, that you're putting out there, that type of thing. These are just some things I would suggest if you felt led to do something like this. I know it's only going to help, that's for sure. So, let's go further here. Okay, so this interview, linked below with Carl Teakrib, I might be butchering his name, but that's how it looks like it's pronounced. Carl Teakrib is about how these transformational festivals are occurring, such as Burning Man, with a plethora of other transformational festivals with similar and diverse names around the world. They represent a foreshadowing of the direction of the secular culture in just a few years that will be mainstream, according to Carl. Again, yes, this is all about incrementalism. It's all about, okay, we have it here in Georgia one year, and then it just spreads like a cancer. This type of concept here. Many of the thinkers, from CEOs and the very rich to college professors, artists, and philosophers, to many youth and college students, to drifters and hitchhikers, are among those who attend these festivals. Well, I don't see how you're going to have a lot of drifters and hitchhikers, because these things aren't cheap. And obviously, you'd have to have internet access, and you'd have to be one of those satanically fortunate enough ones to get it in the first 1 second. Get your ticket. So I just kind of doubt there's a ton of drifters and hitchhikers. Not to say there's not any, but they're going to be definitely in the minority. The CEO and corporate executives in marketing and advertising are able to have personal active participation and intermingle in order to see and experience where art and culture are moving in a postmodern world. They are celebrating their unity via group experience. That is what transformational festivals are all about, according to their interview. The movement seems to be diametrically opposed to Christianity and is very focused against only it as a religion. Isn't that what we always just keep always talking about? It just seems like that's the only thing that the satanic forces ever really care about, and that's going against, Christianity. And so, that shouldn't surprise us. Carl says he recently learned of between 120 and 200 of these types of festivals around the world. So there's a lot of different. This just happens to be the biggest one, but there's 150 to 200 around the world. He researched further, and the number of attended in smaller festivals range from perhaps to 300 to 10,000. So they don't accommodate as many people, but the fact that they're going on. Now here we have a picture of something that they were doing on stage. And they've got two satyrs, like Pan. And you hear of the Pied Piper Pan, who is part goat, part human with horns. They've got two guys that are dressed up like satyrs, okay? And they're on stage with these two guys. One guy has horns, like the stag god. I mean, this is total pagan witchcraft, what they're indoctrinating the masses into. That's what a huge goal of these types of things are. So, let's go further here. Okay, so it also continues by saying, the CEO and corporate executives in marketing and advertising are able to have personal, active participation and intermingle in order to see and experience where art and culture are moving in a, quote, postmodern world. In other words, this is almost like beta testing for what they want to implement on a global scale. To try to see what people will jump through as many hoops as possible to get to, that they're desperate to get to. And if you've got something like this on this grand scale selling out in a second, well then you've got a lot of people that are very, very desperate. And Satan's looking at that and saying, I found a gigantic hot button here. I'm going to now mass produce this and reproduce this on more of a global scale, so that I can get everybody or a huge percentage of the population embracing these types of events. They are celebrating, okay, let's... Okay. He further went on to say that there are many, many more appearing on, and it's an exploding phenomenon, meaning many more of these festivals are cropping up with different flavors, basically. The Tomorrowland Festival, which he discussed, had close to 200,000 attendees, which was held last year in Belgium. It is being held outside of Atlanta during the end of September this year, just ended today. Next year, the location is Brazil. The list of future countries on the list is on the very high-end Tomorrowland website. I mean, it's very, very, very satanically well done. I want to put it that way. It's absolute maximum enticement is what they're really going for, the angle they're trying to go for. Maximally appealing to the flesh. One astounding bit of info is regarding the sales for this event. Carl said in the interview that they had 180,000 tickets for sale for the Atlanta Festival. At the time of the sale went online, 2 million people attempted to buy tickets. So they had 180,000 for sale. 2 million tried to buy tickets from all parts of the world. The minute they went on sale, all 180,000 tickets were sold out in just a second. Yes, 1 second, according to Carl. He said it broke all records for any type of event ever. Planes are painted and decorated from Brazil and many other places from around the world to send the participants. There are similarly named festivals, including the Burning Man, many other with different names and are unrelated, except for the spirit of this global movement, along with the largest of them of all, the Tomorrowland Festival, which is more of a dance and rave based. Carl calls them the bookends of history as they represent the oneness movement that is primeval in nature and going back to the Tower of Babel. He believes that this is all coming quickly full circle. They also go a bit into the above-mentioned oneness religion and the increasing open hostility to witnessing. This is the interview that I give you the link for here. And the increasing open hostility to witnessing that is occurring, as is seen by the Father and Son team at Burning Man. The Father has been going there on and off since 1997, witnessing. I think they have a really good way of witnessing. From what I understand, they don't go up there and scream at everybody that they're going to hell. Okay, now, listen, I'm not judging. I'm just saying. What they do is they go up there with water, and they hand out water to the people at Burning Man. And that gives them the opportunity to actually give out tracts and to witness. They're actually doing something nice for the people at Burning Man who many, many times are incredibly appreciative. I mean, you're in the desert, 90 miles above Reno, there's nothing else around, and literally water could be a matter of life and death. And they're going out, giving out water and showing kindness, like the love of Christ, and then that opens up the door for the witnessing. I just think you're going to catch more flies with honey than, I mean, I've just talked to a lot of people, or I've seen a lot of things where some of these guys go to these events and they're screaming at everybody over the whole weekend, telling them they're all going to burn and rot in hell, which I'm not debating that, but you ask them, well, how many people got saved? Well, none. No, nobody got saved. But their blood's off our hands. We warned them. Bless God, we went there and we told them, we set them straight. Okay, but long-term fruit, heaven, hell stuff. Is anybody going to end up in heaven because of what you did? Well, no, but we screamed at them, and we condemned them, and we let them know what scum they are. Okay, from a Christ-like standpoint, is that really the way we really want to go about this? You know, I'm just saying, you know, I'm trying to think of what is the maximal way that you give yourself the potential to actually literally lead people to the Lord Jesus Christ. And I'm seeing kindness and the love of Christ in giving things away for free like water or kindness or compassion or helping somebody out with a flat tire. I'm seeing that would be a much higher likelihood way of opening a door which they may not get saved right then, but they have that track and they remember what you did, and they remember there's hardly anybody doing that kind of stuff anymore. And then someone else comes and plants another seed, or maybe waters the seed like the Bible says. And then that seed gets watered, and then they finally get saved. I'm just saying, I'm not condemning, I'm not judging. This is a suggestion regarding witnessing. And I know we can't say it, everything's cookie cutter, and you got to do it this way, every single way, every time. But I really liked, when I listened to the interview, I liked, I don't know, like the way that they were going about it. And what I think that has afforded them to do is go back every year. Because if they were going there, pointing the finger and saying, bless God, y'all gonna burn in hell white hot, and you're gonna, and screaming at everybody and just really making everybody really mad, you think that there's no way they're going to permit them to come back year after year and do that, most likely. Not at a place like Burning Man. Okay? Now, I don't mean being mealy-mouthed and not having any kind of backbone either. Okay, but I'm talking about having some biblical balance here. And kind of what would Jesus do? And I know that phrase is abused, but it is good to think about from a biblical standpoint. What would Jesus do? I really don't see a lot of Bible for him going around. And yeah, I know he called the Pharisees and Sadducees white sepulchres full of dead man's bones, and they were the religious heretics of the day that were literally leading people into hell. But that's not who we're really dealing with here. Jesus Christ went to the tax collectors and the prostitutes and the people that were, drunkards and murderers, and he did not go to them and say, kick in the door and say, well, bless God, y'all going to hell. And I'm here to tell you. And get in their face and freak out on them. I don't really see that in the Bible anywhere. I believe he went to them in love and in gentleness, and I'm just saying, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people disagree with me about that, and again, I'm not saying that this has to be cookie cutter, and, but just my opinion on that. Let's go further here. Okay, so going back to the main report, we're almost done with this part. In this interview, which the host says is one of the most informative and important interviews he's ever done, it is stated that the energy, attendance, and money is something the emerging church is emulating. Well, obviously. I mean, you look at the amount of money that's being poured into the emerging church and the 501c3 corporate church system in general. These festivals, according to Carl, create new myths and new narratives for this new postmodern culture. They also discuss how this ties into the Common Core curriculum in America and also the World Core via Robert Mueller. This is the interview that I give you. He gives you the link for, but I'm reposting it. Please consider listening to the interview and doing a teaching on this. If one person, due to your study, changes course and is saved, it will be all worth it. And I believe many may decide not to attend, and also many people can pray against it or go and witness outside of it. And I do kind of apologize here for not getting this out sooner, but this is about as soon as I could get another study up there. But the information's up there now, and it's not like these things aren't going to be coming at a rapid pace. So, a great work can be done for the Lord against this evil in your southern backyard, Brother Scott, meaning this. I live in North Carolina, and it was in Atlanta. As Carl says, there is cultural significance is far bigger than the Olympics. And with these transformational festivals in their combined effect on culture in the U.S. and all over the world, I believe someone needs to warn, inform, and pray against this. Now, I posted or he gave me the link to post for the podcast if you want to listen to that. It's a good interview. And then some other different websites that relate to this. So you'll have all of this in one spot here. So I'm going to go ahead and end part 1 here, and we will go to part 2 next. God bless you.
Scott Johnson's 800-plus audio teachings and PDF documents are available for free 24/7 on the internet at contendingfortruth.com. That's CONTENDING4FOR Truth, TRUTH.com. In addition, we also offer a free Christian current event and health email newsletter. You can sign up at contendingfortruth.com. These email newsletters typically only generate about 3 to 6 emails per month if you subscribe to both lists. Please prayerfully help us to continue this work. For mail correspondence or to support this ministry, our mailing address is 2359 Highway 70 Southeast, box number 321, Hickory, North Carolina 28602. Or on the internet, a PayPal donation link can be found at contendingfortruth.com. Thank you, and may the Lord Jesus Christ richly bless you.
We'd like to welcome you back to part 2 of our current event and weekly Bible study for September 28th, 2014. And we're going to switch gears here. Really forced to cover this Islam issue again, because there's so many new things that are developing, particularly now with this beheading that took place in the last few days in Oklahoma, that this is really, and I really believe you're going to start seeing a lot more of this. And all of the things leading up to that, the whole thing going on with ISIS in the Middle East, and I just want to cover that subject again. So, first report: Palestinian Muslim mother celebrates her son's death during a riot in Jerusalem. A 16-year-old Arab named Muhammad Sunkrit was killed. At his funeral, his mother told Palestinian TV, quote, "This is the first time I see joy in my heart. This is the first time I see such joy. Thank Allah for giving him martyrdom." This was on the official Palestinian TV September 12th, 2014. So, literally just, like a couple weeks ago, essentially. And when I saw that she's had such joy in her heart about this, a couple verses kind of came to mind. Isaiah 5:14, "Therefore hell hath enlarged herself, and opened her mouth without measure, and their glory and their multitude and their pomp, and he that rejoiceth shall descend into it." And this is the type of rejoicing. This isn't like joy of the Lord. This is rejoicing at the death of your own son. Okay? Who supposedly was a martyr because he was protesting and got killed or something. Now, this is total. I didn't even know this until I read the full thing. This whole concept of shahada, which I'm going to get into. In fact, I think I should get into that first, because this is not joy because he was such a martyr. This is joy because she believes that her own sorry carcass isn't going to go to hell now. She believes in her Islamic religion that because her son died in some type of whatever over Islam, that she now will be spared hellfire and go to paradise. So, their motivations are totally self-centered. Oh man, I'm glad my son died, because that means I'm not going to end up going to hell. Boy, am I glad he's dead, for Allah. This is essentially what she's saying. So I want you to read between the lines there. I don't want this to look anything like this is some even religious fervor. This is about her saving her own carcass, essentially. Her own soul from going to hell, is what this really boils down to. Let me just get into that whole thing about the Shahida. I'm going to read this. I actually have it at the end, but I'm going to read it first because this will help everything make more sense when you read these quotes. The Prime Minister of Religious Affairs, Mahmoud al-Habash, said, quote, after prophecy and righteousness, which, Islam's really known for its righteousness, there is no status Allah has exalted more than shahida, or martyrdom. They went to their deaths. The shaheed has merit with Allah, meaning the martyr, a merit that no one else has. The shaheed, his sins are forgiven with the first gush of his blood from his wound. Oh, so see, you pay for your own sin debt with your own blood. Even Satan knows the concept of blood sacrifice to pay sin debt. I mean, this is what the whole Levitical sacrificial system was based on, prior to Jesus Christ coming. But when he died on the cross, he said, it is finished. This sacrificial system needs to cease now. Because he was the perfect lamb that was slain before the foundation of the earth. He was the one that paid that sin debt once and for all. But see, pagan religions, and before Jesus Christ came, in the Levitical system, the blood of bulls and goats were shed. So this is of that same concept here that we're seeing. So he says, the shaheed, his sins are forgiven, the first gush of blood from his wound. The shaheed advocates on behalf of 70 members of his family. Ah, well, why not 71? Come on. 70 members of his family, and saves them all from hell. So see, he saves them from hell, not Jesus Christ. This is the rank blasphemous audacity that is Islam. So hey man, if you got a family member and he's a martyr, woo! If I'm in any of the immediate family, I'm scot-free here. I get to go to be a parent. I don't need to be martyred. I'll just kind of be one of those moderate Muslims. Because I'm of the first 70 family members, and I get to, I don't have to go to hell. That's what they believe. That's what they teach. Then he goes on to say, the shaheed lives together with the prophets and the righteous ones, because they're so righteous, and we're going to discuss that more today, how righteous Islam is. The Bible says in Psalm 9, verse 15, the heathen are sunk down in the pit that they made. In the net which they hid is their own foot taken. Watch this. I didn't watch it, but a listener sent me a video. And I don't like watching people die and get killed and exploded. I don't care if they're Muslim. It's not that I don't care, but it's not that I want to see Muslims have that happen to them. But it was some lady that was a suicide bomber or something, and I don't know, she got killed or something, and I guess they didn't realize she had a suicide bomb on her, and I guess she exploded while they were the procession through the streets where they had her on your shoulders. Oh, and the thing of the video was, karma, or you reap what you sow, and kind of reminded me of this verse, the heathen are sunk down into the pit that they made. Because it was, they strapped these bombs on to kill innocent people. And this was a great example of that, coming literally. I didn't watch the thing. I just don't, the Bible talks about setting no wicked thing before your eyes. I don't want to see people get their heads chopped off and blown up and body parts strewn everywhere. I don't know. I think it grieves the Holy Spirit inside you. I really do. I understand there may be certain times where you don't have a choice. Like if you were literally to witness something like that. But I'm saying, I have a choice here. I don't want to watch that stuff. So, in the net which they hid is their own foot taken. And then the next verse, the Lord is known by the judgment which he executeth. The wicked is snared in the work of his own hands. See, you reap what you sow. From a worldly standpoint, what comes around goes around. But that's the same, basically it's the same concept. The whole thing, even though with karma, whatever. I'm not saying use those terms, but I'm saying it is the same concept, basically. And, the wicked is snared in the work of his own hands. You do wickedness, don't think you're going to be spared wickedness. And don't think you're going to have mercy either. To them that show no mercy will be given. So, you don't want to live your life that way. The wicked shall be turned into hell, and all nations that forget God. That's Psalm 9, verse 17. And then verse 19, Arise, O Lord, let not man prevail, let the heathen be judged in thy sight. These devils that are doing this great wickedness against innocent people, against even their own, these people need to be stopped in the name of Jesus Christ. Let the heathen be judged in thy sight, O Lord. This thing with ISIS, it's not getting any better. Especially when you have our government and other governments in the Middle East and these types of places equipping them to do this wickedness. Verse 20, Put them in fear, O Lord, that the nations may know themselves to be but men. Going back to the report, it says, PATV has broadcast many Palestinian mothers who have expressed joy over the deaths of their own children in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, because it grants the deceased the exalted Shahida status, martyrdom, death for Allah, which bestows many rewards on the martyr and his family. Like you said, 70 of the immediate family members, they don't get to burn in hell because of the blood he shed. What a absolute abomination in the sight of God. Mother of Sbarro Pizza Shop suicide bomber. See, he's a good guy. He goes into a Sbarro Pizza Shop, I'm assuming in Jerusalem. His name was Iz al-Din Azmari. Now that's a name. The mother of this devil, this suicide bomber, who, goes in there and kills innocent people, man, women, children, doesn't matter, as long as they're infidels, non-believers in Islam, he's doing Allah's work. Well, she says, here's what this witch says. I congratulate him. Congratulations, my son, on your martyrdom. Praise Allah. That was on Alaska TV, Hamas, April 30th, 2014. These are direct quotes from these sick, deluded devils. This is how sick they are. In the head. Mother of suicide bomber Shahidi Hameri says, Praise Allah. This is the greatest joy. Praise Allah that he is a martyr. Yeah, praise Allah because you got my sorry carcass out of hell. That's what she's really saying. These people are wicked. Total evil. How could somebody like that ever get saved? I mean, I'm just asking. I don't understand how somebody like that could even get saved. I know with God all things are possible, but I would venture to say there's a very low likelihood of anybody that would ever utter anything so wicked, so evil, so void of compassion, having your mind so darkened, being turned over to such a reprobate mind, having your conscience seared with a hot iron, that they could ever be saved. I'm saying, I just think it would be a very low percentage. I don't want her not to be saved. I pray to God she does get saved, but I'm just thinking, who could say something like that? You know what I mean? I mean, it's impossible to even comprehend. Mother of suicide bomber Dareen Abdu Ashish says, I want to sing, Darren is a bride. And my comment, what, bride of Satan? I mean, what kind of bride are we in reference to here? And again, these are all referenced, these quotes. Palestinian Media Watch has shown that Palestinian Authority promotes death for Allah as the ideal to strive for. Now, these are the same people that are going directly against Israel. These are the ones that Israel gave all this land to, and they reward them by just trying every chance they get to kill them. Okay? Or launch rockets at them by the thousands. Allah is the ideal to strive for, both adults and children. Palestinian Authority promotes death for Allah as the ideal to strive for. Both for adults. Can you imagine raising your kid? Okay, little Johnny and Becky, now what we want to do is we want to die for Allah, and the sooner the better. So we're gonna make sure that happens for you, and this we do this because we love you so much, And actually, we're too much of a coward to die for Allah, so we want you to strap on the nail bomb and go in there and kill all the infidels. And that way, oh boy, we'll be out of the woods then. Really, that's basically what they're saying. That's how I look at it. I don't want to give them any credit for anything. This is just pure, wicked evil. Because they believe this superior status grants the martyr and his family many rewards in the Islamic paradise. Oh, these people are so evil. I mean, the thing is I understand that America, the government, has so much created this problem with the formation, literally the funding of ISIS, and so many things you could look at, Al Qaeda and Taliban, and goes on and on and on. But the religion they did not create. The religion is turning into the monster that it always was. It's just more unfettered now. It's more able to show its true colors, is what we're seeing. We're seeing the true face of Islam more and more and more every day. Unbridled, true face of Islam. And again, that's what we're going to be looking at today. Next report. Yazidi woman is shocked that Muslim neighbors she had known all her life turned on her people as soon as ISIS showed up. This is what I've kept saying over and over. Oh, the moderate Muslims, they're not about violence. They're a religion of peace. That's garbage. If that's the case, why aren't they protesting the radical ones in mass by marching in the streets, by taking back control? Because they would outnumber the radical ones. I don't see a peep from them. I see window dressing from people like this. Oh, yeah, we condemn it. Yeah. Meanwhile, as soon as they turn their back, they're laughing, saying, praise be to Allah. Go get them, buddies. Go get them. We're rooting for you. We're all on the same team. We're your Trojan horse. We're your window dressing. We're your cover. That's what we are. You go get them. You kill as many of those infidels as you can. You lop off their heads just like the Quran says. You behead them, and may they fry in a devil's hell. Ha ha. That's basically what they're saying. Most of them. I really believe that. Because that's what the Quran teaches. That's what their unholy books teach. That's what their imams teach. Don't tell me they don't know this stuff. They're the Trojan horse. They serve their part. But they're going to have to get radical too. Once Islam gets to a certain point of power, they better start towing the line. You know? She says they will drink tea in your house 1 minute. These are people that she grew up with, neighbors. This Yazidi woman, this is that pseudo false Christian, kind of Christian group. I mean, it's like a cult that's in Iraq, and the Muslims have really come after them, ISIS. These Muslims she's known her life turned on her people as soon as ISIS showed up. That's what they've been waiting for all along. They will drink tea in your house 1 minute and stab you in the throat literally the next. Let's just listen to this little interview here. This is on 60 Minutes. Okay, and this woman you're seeing here being interviewed on 60 Minutes is one of these Yazidi women.
Some of your neighbors were helping the ISIS forces.
I recognized some of them. I knew this one man who grew up with us.
Why were people that you knew your whole life in that village joining with ISIS?
I can't tell you exactly, but it has to be religion. It has to be religion. They constantly asked us to convert, but we refused. But before this, they never mentioned it. Prior, we thought of each other as family. But I say it has to be religion.
Well, of course it's religion. That's what Islam's all about. It's about religion. It's about martyrdom. It's about killing the infidel. It's about world domination. Global jihad. I mean, that's what it's about.
You have hope of going back to your village?
I hope so. But as long as those same people in the surrounding villages are there, then no, because I think they will do this again. We don't trust them, but I do want to return home.
And so she's crying. And poor thing. I mean, terrible. Totally terrible situation you have. But she's learning the hard way of what the true face of Islam really is. Now, that was just a small portion of the interview. I'm going to continue with the interview a little bit here, and I'm just going to read you what was said. This is the guy that you heard interviewing her. He says, do you have any idea how many men were killed in the massacre? No, actually, I think he goes on to interview a man. Okay? This is when I think, you remember how they were pinned up on that mountain, okay, not too long ago? Well, this was in that same time frame. Scott Pelley, the interviewer from 60 Minutes, do you have any idea how many men were killed in the massacre? The man Saeed says, I think 380. I'm assuming he's a Yazidi, the Saeed. Okay, Scott Pelley, how many survivors? 10 to 12. So they only killed out of 380. They left 10 to 12. So they've got a lot of compassion. These radical devil Muslims. They killed, out of 380, they only left 10 to 12 alive. He goes on to say, he told us, as the ISIS fighters were finishing off the victims, a plane flew overhead and scared them away. He and his brother, who had been shot 3 times, crawled out of the mass grave. In other words, the only reason there was 10 to 12 that lived is because they kind of got scared off and they crawled out of the mass grave after the Muslims got scared off. That's the only reason they lived. Scott Pelley, after the shooting stopped, what happened to the women? What happened to you? Now, this is going back to the lady that we just heard, okay? So, she says, they told us to come downstairs, they took our IDs, our phones, our gold. They even ripped the gold earrings out of some of the kids' ears. Really compassionate people here. The ISIS used the local villagers' trucks and started loading up to 16 to 20 women at a time and taking us away. The final destination was a little town. Scott Pelley says, where did you go when you got there? What happened? Nadia, she says, there was someone at the front door. He would take off our headscarves and rip open the front of our dresses. He would then touch us, sexually abuse us. Later, Nadia was in prison in a house where she says women were given away as prizes. So again, more fruit of Islam. And then she says, the next morning, a sheikh from Tel Afar came and picked up 3 girls for himself. 2 were my friends. He had the right to take 3 of them. Because he was a big shot, Grand Poobah, sheikh guy. And the ISIS militant had the right to take 1 woman. A friend of mine, who was taken by ISIS commander in return, had told us they're doing everything they please with us, raping us, sexually abusing us, and that the ISIS men would tell them, if you do not convert, we will rape you all and sell you all to the ISIS militants in Syria, where a young girl could be sold for about $800. So this is standard procedure, this is standard operation for these fork-tongued black devils from the pit of hell. This is the true face of Islam. This is how they would want the whole world to be if Islam was left unchecked, unfettered. They would want this worldwide. So please don't kid yourself. That's exactly what their goal would be for the whole planet. Now, let's get a little more confirmation on here. Muslims take 1.5 million homeless children, okay, and rape 90% of them, young boys and girls. In the Muslim nation of Pakistan, there are 1.5 million homeless children. Okay, now these are probably Muslims, because this is Pakistan. Okay, there are 1.5 million homeless children, and Muslim men have raped and molested 90% of them. As read from this report, the report is right here. It's from the Toronto Sun, like a mainstream, basically paper, having to report on this. There are 1.5 million street kids in Pakistan. An estimated 90% of them have been sexually abused at some point in their lives. Can you imagine? I mean, 90 street kids, and you've got these Muslim devil perverts out there raping them in mass? Yeah, that's what goes on there. Absolutely. Remember I told you about the Dancing Boys of Afghanistan? That documentary that the BBC did? Look it up on YouTube. to see the debauchery of these devils. How they take these, it's so disgusting and sick. How they have them dress up like women and put face veils on and dance like whatever, and the guys all go into a frenzy. I mean, we are talking really, really far gone sick in the head. Really debauched perverts here. Okay? I mean, like, nothing that the average person can even remotely comprehend. That's what we're dealing with here. Okay? And again, just more wonderful fruit of the nation, of the religion of peace, Islam. Rape in Pakistan is so common, it's barely taboo. Last week, the Daily Mail interviewed a bus driver from Peshawar who says, after his shift is over, here's what he does for fun. He likes to go into the slums and rape street kids. Sometimes he pays them $1. But, I mean, I guess if he's feeling generous, you know. But often he doesn't. He just joins in the big gang rapes that are going on down in the streets in the slums. Can you comprehend what I'm saying here? Can you comprehend this level of evil? Would you think that person wasn't capable of any wickedness or evil if they were capable of doing such a thing? So we really shouldn't be that surprised when we see all these atrocities from Islam. This guy, and he's openly admitting this taxi driver. He says, quote, once there was a boy on the bus, and everybody had sex with him. Now this is the bus he was driving, okay, as a public servant. You know, he's doing his public servant stuff here. He told the Daily Mail, I did it too, but what else could I do? It means he raped him too. Oh, what else could I do? And they twisted my arm, evidently. They invited me. And he was that kind of boy anyway. Oh, well, there's the justification. You know, it's all right now. I mean, because he was that kind of boy anyway. He says he's raped 12 different children. They have evidently, there's no shame. There's no conscience. There's no mercy. There's no problem with any of this stuff. Can you imagine openly admitting this to a major publication? So matter-of-factly? Then it goes on to say, this wasn't a solitary rapist hiding in the shadows, afraid of being seen or being caught. No, quite the contrary. This was men joining together, unworried about social norms, unworried about someone stopping them. A poll of 1,800 Pakistani men found that a third of them don't think raping street kids is a crime. A third. And they don't even think it's a bad thing to do either. And that number's probably conservative. So in Islam, rape, pedophilia, and ancestral rape is extremely common. Why? Well, because Islam is a cult, and all cults, once they deepen their claws into a society, will inundate it with all sorts of sadistic violence and depravity. I agree. I couldn't agree more. This is why the Mormon compounds, or any cult compound, always indulge in massive child molestation, underage marriage, abuse, and rape. Gotta be real careful, all of these communes and these places where, you know, these cults where people go. I mean, there's all kind of matter of wickedness that goes on at these places, behind closed doors especially. And then there's the so-called honor killings, where families kill their own daughters for social improprieties, perceived social improprieties, real or perceived. Every year, close to 1,000 Pakistani girls are murdered by their own fathers, evidently out of Islamic love. Or murdered by their own fathers, brothers, or even mothers, for, quote, moral indiscretions, ranging from going out on a date, to dressing in Western clothing, to marrying the wrong man. These are all death penalty, horrific death penalty offenses in Islam. What a horrific, hypocritical, satanically sanctimonious duality we have here. A country that has normalized the rape of children, of little boys by the same-sex men, would rather murder its own daughters than have them than have embarrassing gossip about them. But evidently, it doesn't really matter if the gossip is, oh, look at this guy. Yeah, he was over there raping all the street kids, gang raping them and stuff, taking his turn. Oh, but that's just nothing there. There's no gossip there. There's nothing wrong with that. That's all good. But if you do any little thing perceived wrong as a daughter, no, you die. You die. Have you ever seen this level of wickedness exemplified? I would say the Church of Satan would be much more preferable as far as hypocrisy goes. At least they tell you up front that they're about evil. This is a religion much like the Catholic death cult. But this goes so far beyond what Catholicism is doing, even on a mass scale, with the hypocrisy and what they're doing and what they condone. And acting like they're so much better and have all this moral high ground to the infidels when they are doing this level of perverted debauchery. You can't even imagine how demon-possessed these people have to be to become this darkened in their mind where they would do this. And this Islamic satanic debauchery is being imported around the globe. Rotterdam in the UK has received this import of mass rape gangs between 1997 and 2013. That city of just 250,000 had 1,400 girls as young as 11 systematically groomed, raped, and prostituted by Pakistani gangs. 1,400 out of a city of 250,000. The girls were all white Christians. Now, I got flack on this last time. I said this because I'm a bigot because I mentioned their race. Well, okay, would I be a bigot if I was a black person saying that they were white Christians? I am just reporting on a subject. For some reason, they want to go after white Christian girls. What that reason is, I don't really know. But I'm not going to stop reporting on truth just because I'm a white person talking about a white race. The girls were white Christians in the eyes of the Pakistani Muslim gangs. They were subhuman like Pakistani street orphans. Rotterdam police knew all about it, but they were paralyzed with fear. You know what? When you plunge into hell, you devils that enabled this in the Rotterdam Police Department, when you plunge into hell because of your fear of man, when you didn't protect those girls, you'll really know what fear is then. You'll really know what fear is then. Can you imagine? Paralyzed with fear. Fear of being called a racist if they dared to act. Are you kidding me? I have screamed about this every chance I get about these devils. And I'm not saying that I am the example here, but this is not something that needs to be swept under the rug or we need to be afraid about. The fear of man bringeth a snare. My God's bigger than these Muslim devils. And you better believe I would defend any child, black, green, red, yeah, I don't care. I mean, not really green because they're probably an alien, but I mean, any type of child I would defend from these devils. Why? Because it's the right thing to do. We are supposed to defend the innocent as Christians, not just lay down and let evil rape, pillage, and annihilate children. There's nothing Christian about that. Defending the fatherless and the orphans and the little ones and the ones that can't defend themselves. That is Christianity. That is true religion, really. It was what the Bible says. Visiting the widows in their affliction. Defending the fatherless. These types of things. I mean, this just makes your blood boil. Hearing this. But this is what's coming to America. And we do need to know about this. To know about it, to pray about it, to educate others about it. I mean, this is just so wicked and evil. So they knew all about it, but they didn't want to be called racist. So they, just keep raping all these girls. Yeah, as long as we're not called Islamophobic. Well, I'm about as Islamic phobic as anybody on planet Earth. And I am proud, and I praise God to admit that I will expose this evil devil death cult. And if it costs me my life, then so be it. Praise the Lord Jesus Christ. He's bigger than Allah, who is nothing but a devil fallen angel from the pit of hell, possessing people to do this wickedness. They found the mass rape of a generation of the city's girls less intolerable than the risk of being called politically incorrect or Islamophobic. Man, I'll tell you, these guys have the backbone of a redwood. We are talking men's men here, men among boys. Can you imagine being that pathetic? But I guess that's just the norm, Next report. These just keep getting better and better. British Islamic State recruits routinely rape hostages as young as 9 and are put in suicide squads because they're seen as useless fighters, says whistleblower. A purported former ISIS member turned whistleblower says all the group's fighters are told it is their God-given right to rape non-Muslim prisoners. Well, that's what the Quran and the other unholy books and the imams are all telling them. Of course that does. It lines up with what they believe. He claimed that those preparing to sacrifice themselves on suicide missions are particularly encouraged to subject prisoners to depraved sexual ordeals. Evidently, that gets them a better place in paradise the more evil and debauched you are in your depraved sexual rapes and things. Evidently, that garners you a better place in paradise, according to Allah. And that many of those would-be martyrs are actually British. I can't imagine anybody in their right mind wanting to actually convert to this. I mean, it doesn't make any sense at all. It just has to be totally demonically inspired. Why would anybody want to go into this death cult? He claimed that Islamic State fighters routinely rape girls as young as 9, held hostage at terror group training camps. Among other dramatic claims, Mr. Omer said Islamic State fighters are promised 72 eternal virgins in heaven. He forgot the white-skinned boys, because that's promised as well. But they don't like to talk about that as much. Anyway, if they are martyred while fighting for the group. So that's why, and again, then the shaheed, the family gets the 70 people out of hell. It's like I get out of hell free card, except it's for 70 of their family members. You can't forget that one. And then the non-Muslim women held captive are fair game for sexual exploitation because, quote, God wills it. No, it's Allah. God and Allah are two totally different things. But of course their God is Allah, so. Anyway, some Muslim women who join the group are promised rewards in the hereafter if they willingly offer their bodies to jihadists for sex in jihad programs, although it is mostly commanders who benefit from this. I mean, everything you read and see and the fruit, it's all totally evil, wicked, corrupt fruit. And yet the world media goes out of its way to protect it. Because why? Because evil will be protected in the last days. Evil will be condoned. Evil will receive all types of protection. I've went over this over and over again. Turkish soldiers turn a blind eye to the movements of extremists back and forth across the border of Syria. They say, why? Because they're Islam. They're Islamic. So they're going to enable them. This is another example of supposedly moderate Islamic people enabling the butchers at the top of the food chain. The butchers and the rapists. But I think they all got it in them. I just think it's a matter of time before their teeth all really start coming out, and this starts happening even at a greater level, unless God intervenes. So, have you heard about the plan to infiltrate America with 200 to 250,000 Muslim refugees? These wonderful people? Muslims who would pretend to want to assimilate only want to dominate. Now, caution, there's some language I've tried to edit this where we're not hearing a lot, but there's a little bit of language. Some of this I'm not playing because of that. The lady's really, really mad, and I really can't blame her. And I did verify what she's saying. This is from a WorldNet Daily came out with this. The UN to dump flood of Muslim refugees on the U.S. And this is a lady named Diane Lynn Savage from Facebook. And this is what she said the other day.
Hey, Patriots, I am going to try to keep my cool, but I can't promise anything. Hey, Patriots, I am going to try to keep my cool, but I can't promise anything. I read an article today that I think everybody needs to know about, and I'm not sure why our politicians haven't told us about this, but I'll get to that later. So now we have the UN that is going to come in and dump between 200,000 and 250,000 Muslim refugees into America. And then when I go to the article that discusses that, I want to point out a few things here.
See, Satan's seeing all of this wonderful, wicked fruit that they're producing. He wants to import that into the U.S. He wants to make sure that we get a good dose of this as soon as possible. And this is all being done by design by the world government to import this level of evil and debauchery into America.
Most of them are going to come from Somalia and Iraq. Syria could soon be added to the mix. Obama's administration has been greasing the skids for the Syrian refugees for months. WND, which is the source of which this article has come from, has learned, and the refugees will soon be dumped on American cities throughout the U.S. In February, the State Department moved to ease the rules that protect the U.S. from accepting refugees with potential ties to terrorist organizations. Let me reread that to you so you understand. In February, the State Department moved to ease the rules that protect the U.S. from accepting refugees from potential ties to terrorist organizations. The rules were seen as too strict by refugee resettlement groups that lobby for Congress. Again, why the hell are we allowing lobbyists to talk to our congressmen? I don't give a crumb about this refugee resettlement group. I don't give a crap who they are. Then on September the 4th, a U.S. State Department spokeswoman hinted at her daily press briefing that a new wave of refugees will soon be coming from another predominant Muslim nation, Syria. Now, if you don't know a whole lot about Syria, do some research there and you'll love what you're finding there. One of the Syrian leaders was, I believe it was Glenn Beck, did a video. If you'll Google it, you can probably find it. He showed a video of a Syrian leader who had killed an enemy and not only cut off his head, but he's cut open his chest and his innards, and he took out his liver and his heart and he bit into them. Yeah, let's bring some of them over here. Why not, right? Now, here's a few problems that I'm having today.
And Syria is essentially where this whole ISIS thing got started. Okay? The rebels that we armed basically turned into ISIS. So, this is, and again, this is all being done by design. So, just something to bear in mind.
First of all, I want to know who is coming here. What group of people? Who's looking at them and screening them? Is anybody screening them, or is it just going to be a freaking open border situation again where nobody knows who's coming, and once they get here, they disappear into the woods like the rest of the yahoos that they've let in? Next of all, I want to know, is someone making a list? Is some politician, is some member of the White House staff, who's making a list of these individuals and the places that they're coming from, so that once they get here, which I'll get to later, but once they get here, they have some way of keeping track of them. I want to know who's making that list, and I want to know when it's going to be published to the American people. When do we get to see this list of who, what, and when? Next, I want to know what cities are they going to? What states are they going to? Are these states even going to be told that they're coming? Or are we going to have another Mexican child situation where they just dump them off and don't even tell the local officials they're there? Let me guess. These compounds that are sitting around, I bet they're waiting for them. Now, here, I'm going to put out a challenge, okay, from a little old white woman in Florida, you know, doesn't know a hill of beans about anything. I'll put out a challenge to some people because I'm pissed the freak off right now. I haven't heard any politicians, I haven't heard any government officials talking about this. I'm finding out through this this news organization. It's not even a mainstream media news. It's you know, considered conservative, whatever. Why isn't Sean Hannity? Why isn't Herman Cain? Why isn't Dr. Ben Carson? Why isn't U.S. Senator Ted Cruz, Mike Huckabee, U.S. Senator Ron Paul, Governor Rick Perry, Congressman Paul Ryan, U.S. Senator Marco Rubio, just for a few? Why aren't they the ones who supposedly have our backs? Why aren't they telling us what's going on? Why haven't we heard about this from them? Since they are, some of them are going to be considering running for president, why aren't they telling us what's going on here? Why aren't they beating the streets and informing us as American citizens what's about to happen to us? Why are we just now finding out through this source of media? Now, when you...
And again, I haven't seen this reported anyplace else at all. But this is just becoming the norm. This type of news will be suppressed.
Sit here, and I know I'm already going to get the hate mail, and bring it on, because I've got a few choice words for you, and I'll give you back just what you give me. I am telling you now, and anybody with half a freaking brain, if you look at the countries that these Muslims, and they don't even have to be an extreme Muslim, look at the countries that these Muslims have already gone to. The UK, Holland, Sweden, Denmark, it's happening in Australia. You don't even have to look outside of the United States, people. Look what happens when they come into our country. They do not assimilate to us. We are required to assimilate to them. It's called Sharia law. There is plenty of videos on YouTube. Google them. People have gone in undercover, and they've gone to these mosques, and they've gone to these meetings for months, and they've documented what is being spoken from the pulpit of these mosques. They are plainly saying this. You know, go along with the American way. Go along with whatever country you're in at the time. You know, kind of go with the flow. But at the moment that we're ready, we'll make our presence known. That's what they're saying. How about the parts of the countries where these Muslims, peaceful Muslims, the moderate Muslims, have joined citizenship, not citizenship because they haven't pledged allegiance to America, they've just come into the countries. And instead of going with the laws that are in place, they all are taking up positions so that they can implement Sharia law. Do you understand what they're doing? Do you understand? They are getting in numbers. They are getting in places. They are getting in positions of authority so that they can do that. Hell, there's police, and we've seen the videos from the UK. The police are actually walking them down the street as they chant and hold the black flag of ISIS and curse the country that they're living in. The freaking law enforcement are aiding them in allowing it. When is it going to stop? When are you going to wake up and see that the situation is worse than you think, and this is not a doomsday situation from an afraid little person? There are thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people that feel the same way. These people are not for the good. They're not for our way of life. They're for their agenda. And I'm going to put the biggest one with the biggest agenda is sitting his happy ass.
Sorry. Anyway, that's she's talking about Obama at that point, and she kind of gets going there, so I'm not going to play the rest. But sorry, I normally don't even play videos. It's just that I want people to understand there are people in this country that are waking up, and this is good because this needs to be known about. The churches aren't doing it. For the most part. I mean, I think some, but not too many. They might get their 501c3 status stricken if they speak in an Islamophobic way. And so this is going to have to go out. This type of information, this type of thing is going to have to kind of go out grassroots for the most part. Some people are doing more than others. Sean Hannity, I will say that he has really tried to bring a lot of light on this. What I don't understand about the guy is why does he always have to have if he gets somebody like Brigitte Gabriel on his show, why does he have to have a Muslim there lying and presenting his lies? Because that's all they can do is lie. Why does he have to give them a platform? I don't understand why you have to give evil a platform. Well, because that's fair. No, it's not. No, it's not. Evil has enough of a platform in this wicked world we live in. We don't need to do it any favors by letting it come on there and lie. Because every time he has any type of Muslim guest, all they do is lie. That's all they're capable of doing. Just like when he has his liberal guests on. All they can do is lie. Now, a lot of his conservative guests, the politicians, they lie too. Because, we're really trying to... Oh, yeah, right. That's why... everything is deteriorating and degenerating, and it just seems like the Republicans and Democrats are all on the same team. Doesn't really seem like they're doing a whole lot of anything to stem the tide of evil. You can give me lip service all day long, but you know what? Actions speak louder than words. And this is becoming the norm now. And so it's kind of like up to the grassroots type of movement to get this information out. Let's go further here. An ISIS spokesman... and this was from International Business Times, just came out on the 22nd. An ISIS spokesman has published a call to arms for Muslims around the world to kill American, Canadian, and European citizens for their government's role in a coalition against the radical Islamic group in Iraq and Syria. And again, I've said this before. All of these airstrikes that are being leveled on ISIS now, supposedly on ISIS here, that could be the absolute excuse for an all-out for all of these Islamic terror cells. That could be the excuse that the government points to when they go hot and they start implementing whatever they're going to implement. Releasing of biologicals, dirty nuclear bombs, contaminating the water systems, going after the electrical grid, killing as many people as possible. They don't need an excuse anymore. They could point to ISIS and say, well, we were kind of attacking them, so they just went crazy and they started attacking everybody. What can we do other than impose martial law and take all your rights away and herd you all into cities and take all the patriots to concentration camps and disarm everybody? I mean, obviously that would be the most logical thing to do when you have an enemy like this is do that. If you were Satan, it would be at least. So, anyway, following Australia's largest terror raids and France's first airstrikes on the group, ISIS, also known as Islamic State, spokesman Abu Muhammad al-Adashina, sorry. Anyway, the guy's name is 196 characters long. I mean, who could even pronounce that? Sorry. Anyway, he called upon supporters to launch insider attacks on Western populations, particularly the spiteful and filthy French. That's what he said. And I had a French listener the other day said that I called the French filthy, and I shouldn't do that. It was disrespectful. So I'm like, okay, don't really remember saying that, but I'll take your word for it. I'm sorry. I'm not against the French. Whatever. Sorry. Anyway, so then he goes on to say, if you kill a disbelieving American or European, especially the spiteful and filthy French, he said it, I didn't, or an Australian or a Canadian or any other disbeliever, including the citizens of the countries that entered into a coalition against the Islamic State, ISIS, then rely upon Allah and kill him in any manner or way, however it may be, end of quote. So now this is what is being commanded by an ISIS spokesman calling for a call to arms for Muslims around the world. Huh. And what just happened in Oklahoma? Oh, we're going to talk about that next. Could this be maybe a fulfillment of, could he have been being a good Muslim and doing what he was told by his superiors? I don't know. Anyway, he said all this in a 42-minute speech released on social media. Now, my comment is, imagine the backlash if just one Christian on planet Earth had given a similar 42-minute speech where he was advising Christians to kill anybody Islamic, okay, and it doesn't matter, if they're who they are, whatever, kill them any way possible. Can you imagine the backlash? Can you imagine the media circus that would ensue? And for a mass cry to probably jail all Christians worldwide because of the actions of one? It would probably be about what you'd see. But it's okay for ISIS to do it. I mean, hey, they're one of the good guys. Just always remember that. So, if we go further, he goes on to say, kill the disbeliever, whether he is civilian or military, for they have the same ruling. Both of them are disbelievers. Both of them are considered to be waging war. Both of their blood and wealth is legal for you to destroy. End of quote. It's all legal according to the Quran and their other unholy books. This is Islam. Okay? He is being a fundamental Islamic practitioner, and he is advising his adherents to be that. So this is what he is calling them to do. He also called the coalition against the terror group a crusade and warned Western civilians, you will not be safe even in your own homes. The exact quote was, quote, you will not feel secure even in your bedrooms, he said. You will pay the price when this crusade of yours against ISIS, I guess, collapses. So I guess we just should sit back and let ISIS just kill, rape, pillage all the way around the world and do nothing because Allah is supreme. Because we're all so afraid of the big bad Muslims and what they bring to the table. Evidently, that's what he says, I guess, what we should do. He says, you will pay the price when this crusade of yours collapses, and thereafter we will strike you in your homeland, and you will never be able to harm anyone afterwards. You are a lying, fork-tongued devil, is what you are. And may the Lord Jesus Christ rebuke you and all your devil ilk, and may he rain down his fury on your forked tongue, you lying, rapist devils. We need God's judgment on the wicked. We need it. Because it's only wicked left unchecked. This is exactly what ends up happening. It just gets worse and worse and worse. Satan will never be satisfied with the people that he kills. He might kill 100 one day, he'll want 200 tomorrow. And he is working totally through these bunch of devils. And it's becoming more obvious every teaching that I do that this is the case. Unrepentant evil. Next report. This is about the Oklahoma City thing that just happened. Or what happened in Oklahoma. Not Oklahoma City, but in Oklahoma. The Muslim man who beheaded a woman and stabbed another woman at his Oklahoma workplace. Yeah, I don't know if you heard about that. We got a Muslim guy we've got Muslims now decapitating people in the workplace in America. In Oklahoma. Just happened the other day. Yeah, they're cutting people's heads off. He had recently been fired. Moore Police Sergeant Jeremy Lewis said police are waiting until Alton Nolan, who has now a different Muslim name, who is 30 years old, is conscious to arrest him in the Thursday attack. He's woken up by now. They interviewed him. Nolan severed the head of Colleen Hufford. What a brave Islamic warrior for jihad and Allah. He beheads a 54-year-old co-worker. Innocent, hadn't done nothing to him. Nah, we just chop off her head. Because I'm such a man, you know. And then the police sergeant said, yes, she was beheaded. Lewis told the Associated Press before a Friday news conference. Lewis said Nolan then stabbed Tracy Johnson, who was 43, a number of times as well, before Mark Vaughn, a reserve sheriff's deputy and the company's chief operating officer, shot him. Well, too bad he didn't kill him, because that's what needs to happen to people like this. Chops off a innocent lady's head in the workplace for no other reason than maybe this command by this guy that we just read. Kill the unbeliever, lop off their heads, chop off their heads. That's what the Quran says to do. He's just being a good fundamental Muslim. The police officer said this was not going to stop if he didn't stop it. In other words, he would have kept killing people and cutting off their head as long as he was bodily able to do so. Until this guy with a firearm, imagine that of all things, stopped it. So what did the firearm do? It prevented evil from occurring. Because this devil would have just kept killing people if he could have. He wasn't going to stop. Oh, well, there's one more of the literally millions of examples how firearms can be used for righteousness in order to prevent evil, which is proved over and over and over again. The threat had already stopped once we arrived, the police said. Well, why? Because the guy got shot. Nolan was terminated from his job at Vaughn Foods on Thursday just before the rampage occurred. Here's a picture of this devil reading his Quran on a prayer rug. Nolan also recently had been trying to convert co-workers to Islam. I guess this was his plan B. Since the conversions didn't work well, I'm just supposed to lop off their heads now. You know? I gave them a chance, now I just got to kill them all. What can I do? My hands are tied, according to Allah. Despite all this, the police are classifying the Islamic Jihad attack as, quote, workplace violence. Oh, it's not Islamically related at all. No, it's not. His Facebook page just has pictures of the Taliban fighters and pictures of American military guys with their heads severed off. Literally, it's on his Facebook page. Literally, I saw the one picture. I'm like, oh, I don't want to see that. And him with his Islamic buddies and dressed up like a Muslim and all this stuff. But they're calling it workplace violence because, hey, we must always be politically correct, especially in regard to Islam. Never denigrate Islam in any way, shape, or form. Because we all know it's a religion of peace. We've all seen the wonderful fruit. And don't you dare even try to argue that. It's workplace violence. He just had a bad day, and Allah had nothing to do with it. Nolan calls himself Jakim Israel. Interesting name. Now, when I saw that, well, let me get into this in a little bit. So he calls himself Jakim Yisrael, like Israel, but with a Y. On his Facebook page, where he uploaded photos of himself reading the Quran and wearing Muslim religious clothing. He also posted, quote, on his Facebook page, "I'ma tell you off, top. I'm not your friend. My friends are at the mosque around the world," end of quote. He then wrote a description of himself saying, "I'm an Muslim from the tribe of Judah. My ancestors, who are true Jews here in America today, are originally from Israel." Oh, really? They were bombed out of Israel by the Roman Catholic Army, so they fled to Egypt, and the Africans sold us to the white man as slaves along with any other black person here in America today, a.k.a. the true Jews from Israel. Our ancestors are originally from Israel. They were not from Africa. Man, I am so glad this guy got me straight on my history. Boy, now what you're seeing here, I believe, is a combination of the devil movement called the Black Hebrew Israelites. This has nothing to do with race. I'm telling you, if these guys were white, I'd be reporting on it just the same. Okay? But I've had listeners that have had dealings with these people. One lady, my listener up in Washington, D.C., Patricia, she just had a dealing with these Black Hebrew Israelites. They call themselves that recently. These guys are demon-possessed to the toenails. They come out dressed up like road warriors and are really, really super nasty and intimidating. Really see the love of Christ in them, in other words. And coming out here saying that we're the true Israelites and the Jews there aren't the real Jews. It's no different than the other movement that's very, very similar, the British Israelism. That where they are saying the Caucasians and the white races of the Jews, and all the Jews that are actually there are all fake, every one of them, and the real Jews are the whites, and I'm like, that's just as ridiculous as the Black Israel movement, the Black Hebrew Israelites. The British Israelism is just as ridiculous, or Christian identity is another whole thing of that. It's all blasphemy. It's all heresy and garbage, you know. I don't condone either one. You know what that all boils down to? Pride. Look at me. I'm the real McCoy. I'm the real Jew. You know? It's like people have this, so many people have this absolute obsession with pride. What it boils down to. They want to feel like they're better than everyone else. They don't want to consider the pit from whence they were dug. And if they're better, then they could justify doing wickedness, saying, well, I'm better. And those devils, oh, isn't that why they killed all the Jews and Hitler did that? Because they were subhuman? Isn't that kind of why their justification was that through Darwinism? Saying, well, they're just one notch above the apes, so they're subhuman, and look at all of their wicked, evil fruits, so we need to kill them. We need to purify our race. We need to create the Aryan man God, the fifth root race. We need to create that race. That was the whole justification for the Jews. These other cults would end up the same way if you let them go unchecked and unfettered. They'd start killing people that they thought were undesirable. It's ridiculous. So this guy changes his name to Jah, and one time in the Bible it says, extol them that ride upon the clouds. And Jah is used as a derivation of Jehovah one time in the Bible. Okay? So he changes his name in the King James Bible, Old Testament. He changes his name to Jah-Kim Israel. Okay, so I think what this guy is he is an amalgamation of the Black Hebrew Israelite movement combined with Islam. Because he seems to have a lot of tenets of both. Is what my personal opinion from looking at this. Now, I don't know every single thing about this guy. I know he's a devil. I know he's evil. I know he's got a record a mile long. I know he's, but I would have to say that would be my best guess. Going further here, Nolan's Facebook cover photo appears to be of several Taliban fighters. According to Google reverse image search, he also wrote Sharia law is coming alongside a picture of Pope Benedict. He posted a photograph in March of a protester holding a sign saying Islam will dominate the world, freedom can go to HELL. Okay, so this is the guy that did this. But this had nothing to do with Islam. It's workplace violence. Even though beheading obviously is a huge tenet of Islam. But I'm sure they're not connected. So, regarding the comments that were made about this report, I just wanted to read some of these comments. This one is it's a combination of two different comments, and I even posted the names and the times they were written. Alton Nolan, who is this wonderful gentleman that beheaded this lady at Vaughn Foods, the co-worker, he was convicted in January of 2011 of multiple felony drug offenses, assault and battery on a police officer, and escape from detention. I even saw the police officer that he assaulted, this lady that was lamenting the fact that she should have killed him when she had the chance, when he assaulted her the first time. This was back in 2011. Because she feels as though, obviously, that would have prevented this beheading from ever occurring. You know? Nolan has a criminal history dating back to 2006. That includes charges of possession of a controlled substance and assault and battery on a police officer. He was in prison from April 2011 to March of 2013. So he only got out about a year and a half ago, and is currently listed as being on probation. How is he out of prison on that record? I mean, assault on a police officer? Possession of controlled substance? I mean, criminal history dating back to 2006? Escape from detention? Multiple felony drug offenses? He's out of prison? Well, yeah, I mean, sure. We'll keep a ton of the innocent people in prison, and we'll let the real bad guys out. Hey, they just reported last time on all of the felons and sex offenders that our wonderful government's let out of prison that are illegal aliens. So that's going to be more and more commonplace. You know? No doubt he converted to Islam in prison. No doubt. Well, what do you mean? This is an interesting aside. A Federal Bureau of Prisons report around 9/11 pointed out that Islamic Wahhabis were the single largest U.S. prison proselytizing group in the U.S. Islamic Wahhabis. Okay? They had a huge amount of funds behind their work from the Saudi government and had access to prisoners when other religions were delayed access. Imagine that. Their proselytizing was frequently of a rather radical nature. And converted cons were more likely to be problems than not. What is most interesting about this report was how quickly it was made a classified item, and withdrawn from circulation after allegedly an unnamed, heavily Wahhabi Mideast government raised HELL about it. Because they don't want to be exposed. Islam don't want to be exposed. They want to operate in the corners and unfettered. They want to do all the stuff behind everyone's back. They are still handing out Qurans and hatred, but their access is far more quietly dealt with now. They're going primarily to black African American males in the prison system and playing on the race card about the white man, you need to kill him, look what he's done to you, he's kept you down, he put you in prison, you shouldn't be here, this is all his fault. Convert to Islam, join your true brother. And you know what's ironic? In Islam, if you really look at Islam, they consider people that are black as basically inferior, like I can't even say what they really consider them if you really study Islam. I got into this one time. And I'm like, if the blacks that are converting to Islam only knew what the people that are in the Middle East, the real Arabs, really thought about them, I think they would get out of there in droves. But that's never ever discussed. That's totally suppressed. So these Wahhabi Islamic groups go and proselytize these guys in prison, turn them into radical Muslims with a hatred of America and the white races, and then they come out and it's no wonder they do this or will be triggered at one point in order to do this. Now again, I can't not report on this stuff just because it has to do with race and gender. I'm telling you, if it was white people doing this, I'd be reporting on it. I'm not giving them a pass either. But this is what they're doing. And how they're doing it. I mean, it's not the black guy's fault that they're being targeted. Okay? I'm not saying that's their fault. They're being targeted. But they are being targeted, and it has been effective at converting many of these black men to radical Islam. And they're going to be used in this jihad against Americans. Along with the black street gangs, along with the Mexican gangs, along with the, you name a gang, they're going to be probably used. Whether it's fighting against the American public or whether it's fighting against each other. It's going to be all about death and destruction and implementing evil. Another commenter says, I don't know if this is true in all states, but in prisons in Tennessee, respect all Islamic dietary and worship rules. Christians are not afforded any special access, though. I was told they especially observe Ramadan. Hey, if it's evil, they're going to honor it. Bottom line. That's what all this boils down to. Another commenter says, around Dearborn, Michigan, there have been beheadings that have been quashed because of the PC and the Muslim police. I'm not sure what PC is, but it's some, I don't know, I would imagine law enforcement and the Muslim police. On a horrifying note, one of the police officers in the jail told us there are honor killings in Dearborn, Michigan, which I've reported on, probably the most ground zero Islamic stronghold in America is Dearborn, Michigan. Okay? And they've got whole no-go zones that the police don't even really go into in Dearborn, Michigan. In other words, they're turning it into a little Middle East there. And they want to branch it out and make it bigger and bigger and bigger, taking over towns, okay? Honor killings in Dearborn that get covered up by the police department. He said that he had walked into houses where girls had been beheaded or had their throats slit. Girls, honor killings again. But check the local newspapers. You won't find any mention of these crimes at all. Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a little bit too. So again, if it's wicked and if it's evil, it's going to get swept under the rug. Okay, I just realized I was over time on this part, so I'm going to end part 2 and we'll go to part 3 next. We'd like to welcome you back to part 3 of our current event and weekly Bible study for September 28th, 2014. And I'm thinking this will be our last part. Continuing on with this whole thing what just happened in Oklahoma. This is unbelievable. I mean, this really... I ordered the report in this way because if I would have ordered it any other way, it wouldn't have been as dramatic in regard to the information that I'm presenting, because I'm trying to show you, okay, here's what's going on in the Middle East. Now, here's what's going on in America. And progressively building on this. This just came out, okay? Muslims shouting, "Praise Allah," surround Oklahoma cops after a press conference on the beheading in Oklahoma. Here is a Twitter pic of them surrounding the cops, okay? I really checked into this a lot, because at first I didn't believe it. I said, nah, there's no way. And then I'm like, this seems to be legitimate here. Okay, here is a comment regarding this this report and this picture. And it says, "They're here. People get ready. Real funny how the news isn't showing any of this." And again, totally suppressed. Okay? It's workplace violence. It has nothing to do with ISIS. It has nothing to do with Islam. The guy just likes to kill, behead people. I mean, come on. Cut the guy some slack, you know? Just got Taliban fighters all over his website and in pictures of beheadings on, and he said in his Facebook page he's been watching the beheadings, and I guess he wanted to get into the, he wanted to get into the act and everything and really show his stuff. So, Oklahoma Muslims read from the Quran during the press conference. 2 to 3 local Oklahoma Muslims are reading passages from the Qurans out loud on the ground at the site of the news conference. Okay, so while the news conference is going on, regarding this guy beheading this woman, these devil Muslims have the audacity to go there and read aloud while the news conference is going on from the Quran. Talk about disrespectful. Talk about somebody that is saying, yeah, we're glad he beheaded her. We're glad he did. And we're going to read our Qurans and show you how holy we are. You would think they would be there apologizing and saying, oh, this, even though they said if it wasn't Islam, they would be lying. But they would be trying to smooth things over. Oh, no, let's go inflame things. Let's go really get in their face and show them how our zeal for Allah. Then another guy says, the Muslims were saying, this is a guy that was there, the Muslims were saying, praise Allah during the conference. During the conference of the lady getting her head chopped off. They're saying, praise Allah. It's here in America. You would expect this in the Middle East, but it's in America, and this was totally not reported. I made sure I really checked into this, and I've seen 3 different sources now. And the Gateway Pundit was the one that actually ended up, I think, with the original story. And I give you a link here. unbelievable. Then another comment was several Muslims attended the press conference. Not all at the news conference were Muslims, but I'm guessing probably 30 to 40 were out of the 100 to 120 total who were there. And they were saying praise Allah, and 2 to 3 of them were reading out of their Qurans while it was going on. Not too disrespectful, considering the lady just got her head lopped off. So I'm going to go ahead and play a clip here, about 5 minutes worth, a little bit more. Now, I don't recommend this guy. He's basically nothing but a glorified Catholic. I don't recommend him. I've had a lot of Paul Begley. I've had a lot of people, but he does bring up some good points here, and I thought that it was a good enough audio clip to play because he gives some other insight into this.
You know, this is a horrific thing that happened in Oklahoma, there at Vaughn Foods, where a man, 30-year-old man, was fired, and then, he had recently converted to Islam, and while working there was trying to convert other people to Islam. So, definitely involved in Islam. He was fired. Got in his car, drove around the front of the parking lot of the building of the business, crashed into another car, got out, went inside and stabbed a 54-year-old woman to death, a woman who had survived the tornado that tore apart Moore, Oklahoma. He stabbed her to death and then decapitated her. He then stabbed another woman before the COO, who was an off-duty police officer, shot him several times and stopped him. He is still alive and in the hospital. Now, the police held a press conference, and this is a picture, an overhead view. Muslim men came.
I give you a picture of another picture of this in the PDF on this teaching as well.
In mass, stood around. They surrounded the police spokesman during the conference and shouted, "Praise Allah! Praise Allah! Praise Allah!"
So evidently, praise Allah for this woman dying and the other one being stabbed. We're going to come out and force. See, it's getting to the point now where there's enough Muslims here, and they've had enough liberty, and they know that they have this the whole political correctness. They know how the press is going to protect them, that they're getting bolder and bolder and bolder. Now they're starting to decapitate people. They're already doing it in Dearborn, Michigan. They're killing people. The media is covering it up. Now they're getting so bold as to actually come to American press conferences when they've committed atrocities and scream praise Allah and read the Quran.
That's what they shouted. They're at the Oklahoma press conference in regards to the man who had stabbed the woman and decapitated the woman, as well as stabbed the other woman. Now this is according to the local newspaper there, the Gazette. And this is really disturbing, folks, because you might say, well, Islam had nothing to do. I've already seen reports on television, lamestream media trying to say Islam has nothing to do with this. Well, folks, let me just put it to you this way: the man is Islamic, and I realize he hadn't been been involved in Islam very long. But apparently he had read enough of the Quran to know the part where it says you can behead infidels, because he apparently understood that part of the Quran anyway.
And again, he had pictures on his Facebook of decapitated American soldiers on his Facebook. Okay? I mean, of Taliban fighters. I mean, he knew, and he had been saying that he'd been watching these videos of these decapitations. So he knew full well what he was doing, and he was doing it for Allah.
Folks, this thing a movement is beginning in America. And let me just say this with Oklahoma. Unfortunately, Oklahoma, of course, the Black Mass, just a week ago, September 21st, last Sunday, a Black Mass was allowed to be done, and in a public building in Oklahoma City. Also, Oklahoma's has agreed, or lawmakers are going to allow, and a judge has approved the erecting of a monument to Lucifer. I call it Lucifer's lap, where Lucifer literally is sitting in a chair with a lap available for people to sit in with two little children around him admiring him.
Now, I've reported on that and put out a lot on my emails. He's not making that up. It literally is a sculpture of basically Baphomet, Lucifer, the goat-headed Lucifer, Baphomet, androgynous god, with two children on his lap in the Oklahoma, whatever state capital or wherever it's at, Rotunda. I mean, this is total insanity.
Maybe that's why we're seeing the earthquakes now. Maybe we're starting this. We just had a bus crash in Oklahoma.
That's true. Those 4 girls died in that softball. Those 4 girls that were playing, that were on the college softball team in Oklahoma, 4 of them died. And then you have this beheading. You've got the Lucifer sculpture with the 2 kids in the Capitol Rotunda. I mean, I'm just saying that this could be all God's, judgment. They could be connected.
Today, 4 members of a Texas college softball team killed, several other injured critically in the hospital. And now that even there is potential homicide charges going to be brought up maybe in this crash. Don't know yet. Just heard that a few moments ago. But Oklahoma now, this year alone, has had more earthquakes than California. Oklahoma is now leading the nation in earthquakes. Now you got to listen to me. Oklahoma is the reddest state in the union, and actually is in the heart of the Bible Belt. But the demons of hell are attacking this great state of Oklahoma. With some of the best Christians I know, some of the best followers I got are right out of Oklahoma. It's not a reflection on the church. It's a reflection of the demons of hell rising up against Christians.
Well, I have to kind of beg to differ there, because if the church was doing its job, and I don't mean the Catholics, I mean like the true Bible-believing Christians, there would be more resistance, I believe, to what we're seeing here. Okay? Particularly with the satanic statue, because the report I read that the protest that was organized against the satanic statue, now I don't know, it could be wrong. Maybe it is. I hope it is. But it said that they were all Catholics that came out to protest it. And I'm like, well, great. I mean, Catholics, we need to have real Bible-believing Christians there, not just Catholics. Not Catholics, preferably, because I don't want to be aligned with a cult. I really don't. I just don't want to be aligned with it. I don't want to be labeled in the same boat as them. And for obvious reasons, if you've seen any of my teachings on Catholicism. So I'm just speculating. I'm not condemning, but I am doing some speculation here.
Not only the world, but here in America as well, right in the heartland. So there you see the police chief trying to give a press conference, being surrounded by members of the media, but mostly being surrounded by a huge crowd of Muslim men shouting, "Praise Allah, praise Allah, praise Allah," as they were surrounding him. It's got to be a little bit intimidating, and I think that's what this was, an act of intimidation.
Now, I don't think, like the report said, they were all Muslim. It's saying they were thinking 30 to 40 out of, like, whatever. But then again, I wasn't there. But the fact remains is this did happen.
Why would you say praise Allah when the man's talking about one of their brothers, a brother in Islam, who had just decapitated a woman?
Exactly.
Folks, you don't think we got a problem? You don't think we got a problem? Well, go ask the Christians of Syria and Iraq. They'll tell you just how big a problem we're probably got. And it starts. So
anyway, I just wanted to play that clip there, and to give you a little bit more insight on what's going on. I mean, this is almost a turning point. I've never seen Islam be this bold within our borders, to where we're getting literal beheadings, and then literal Muslims turning up to basically praise the person that beheaded a totally, innocent woman. I understand we're all guilty as far as sin goes, but I'm talking about he just walks in there and randomly stabs this woman and then beheads her for no reason other than, Allah, the Islamic mandate. And then you've got these devils turning up with the audacity to quote the Quran and say praise Allah while they're doing this. I mean, I really think they're seeing what they can get away with. They're really testing the waters. And they're really seeing how spineless America is acting toward them, which is only going to embolden them more. Now, here we have, this just broke. I don't know if it was today or yesterday. Fired Muslim Oklahoma City nursing home worker threatened beheading of woman, police said. Okay? This is Oklahoma City. In a bizarre coincidence, a fired Oklahoma City nursing home employee was arrested Friday, which was around the same time all this stuff was breaking with the Oklahoma beheading, after a co-worker reported he threatened to cut off her head. Jacob Mungambi Murathi, here's a picture of him, 30 years old, also 30 just like the other guy, is being held in an Oklahoma County jail on a terrorism complaint. His bail is set at $1 million. The arrest came on the same day police in Moore, Oklahoma, revealed fired Vaughn Foods worker Alton Alexander Nolan beheaded a co-worker after he was fired Thursday. I mean, this is really some disturbing stuff. Nolan is a Muslim convert. This is the guy we just talked about. Marathi, this guy, the guy we're talking about now, was identified as a native of Kenya who was living in Oklahoma City. He worked at Bellevue Nursing Home in northwest Oklahoma City, reported police. The co-worker reported Marathi threatened her while they were both working at the nursing home on September 19th, which was 10 days ago. A police detective wrote in an arrest warrant affidavit. The woman was not identified. She said Marathi identified himself as a Muslim and said he represented ISIS and that ISIS kills Christians, quote. The detective told the judge that in an affidavit the two had not worked together before. Now here we go again. This guy hadn't even worked with this lady. Okay? Just like the other one, the guy walks in there and he beheads her and for no reason at all. No reason. Just because he's wicked and evil. Okay? He hadn't even worked with this lady. It's not like, the point I'm trying to make is it's not like either of them had an axe to grind with the people they beheaded. It was just random. It was just, the first person they found. The woman said she had asked him why they kill Christians, and he replied, quote, "This is just what we do." Well, that's a great reason, The victim said Jacob asked her what time she got off work. And she replied by asking him in a joking manner if he was still going to kill her. If he was going to kill her when she got off work. The detective wrote, Jacob told me, yes, he was going to cut off her head. The victim asked Jacob what he was going to cut her head off with. And he said, quote, a blade. Then he told her after he did, he was going to post it on Facebook. So this is the kind of demon possession via Islam that we are seeing now happened the same day in Oklahoma on a Friday. This broke on that day, but actually it happened before that. But, I'm trying to drive this point home that this is coming and this is here. The victim said Jacob was serious when speaking and never made any statements that he was joking or playing around, end of quote. So, thank God this devil was apprehended before he was able to act out on this. Thank God this lady took this seriously. Let's go further. President Barack Obama favorably quoted and praised on Wednesday in his speech before the United Nations a controversial Muslim cleric whose organization has reportedly endorsed the terror group Hamas and supported a fatwa condoning the murder of U.S. soldiers in Iraq. Obama's remarks often offered praise to a controversial cleric, Sheikh Abdullah bin Bayah, and referred to him as a moderate Muslim leader who can help combat the Islamic State of Iraq and ISIL or ISIS's radical theology. See, we want to use moderate Muslims to combat the radical ones because obviously they're not on the same team. I mean, it's not like they both worship Allah. It's not like ultimately they both want the same thing, which is world domination. So definitely we need to arm the moderate Muslims so that they can turn around and ultimately use those weapons against the infidels because we're so stupid to give them to them. But then again, it's all by design. And I'm saying my listeners are stupid. I'm saying that that's how I'm sure they probably view the government. But the government's like, no, we're really not that stupid after all. We're doing it on purpose. We're using you to destabilize the planet. We're using you to further our agenda. We're using you to bring order out of chaos and to bring us out of the old world order and into the new world order. And you are our useful idiots who will die in mass, you stupid Muslims. That's basically what they're saying to them. That's what Satan is saying to them through the Illuminati. That's pretty much how I see it. Now, there's a thing I saw here. And it's a little picture I posted. It says a radical Muslim wants to kill you. It shows a sword. A moderate Muslim wants a radical Muslim to kill you. So that's the only difference between radical Muslims and moderate. A radical Muslim wants to generally kill you, and he wants to use a real sword to do it. But a moderate Muslim wants the radical Muslim to kill you. That's the only difference, you know. So, however, this bin Bayah himself has long been engulfed in controversy for many of his views, including the reported backing of a 2004 fatwa that advocating the murder of Americans fighting in Iraq. This is not the first time that Obama administration has extolled bin Bayah. Well, Obama is a Muslim. He was brought up a Muslim. He was raised a Muslim. He is a Muslim. He's just a stealth jihadi Muslim. He's just never going to admit it. Okay, he's waging stealth jihad. He's populated his cabinet and czars in this with radical Muslims in the highest places in American government, and he's given them all of these rights and privileges and protections, and told the media to totally, just go silent whenever it is humanly possible to not report on all of the crimes they're committing, and how they're pouring into the country, and how they're pouring across the southern borders, along with the illegal aliens and along with the Mexican drug cartels, who are actually aiding and abetting them. Just keep all that under until the day and time we're ready to give them the green light so that they can wage jihad on America and we can impose martial law to strip you of all your rights. And we'll use them as the excuse to do it. And then maybe a biological attack as well, or maybe a pandemic to boot. That's the plan. This bin Bayah has served as the vice president of Muslim Scholars Group founded by the radical Muslim Brotherhood leader who called for the death of Jews and Americans. So yeah, he's a guy that Obama should be praising. Well, I mean, I can understand why he is. Here's another thing I'm going to play. Muslim Day Parade in New York City. When I saw these pictures, I'm like, oh, come on, these are probably photoshopped. No, they weren't. They're real. They're all real. Muslim Day Parade in New York City. This just happened with guns, hanged people, and caged women. So I'm just going to let this report roll here. This is footage from this Muslim parade in New York City that just happened. This is Pamela Geller on Ezra Levant discussing the Muslim Day Parade in New York City. Here it shows a guy, a Muslim, dressed up in camo, and he's got the gallows set up with a woman dangling on a noose. She kind of looks like a nun, but supposedly this woman represents Egypt. But it's not too disturbing seeing a woman hanging from a noose in the back of a pickup truck with some guy in sunglasses and camo beside her, proudly standing beside her. I mean, that's not too warped.
Yeah, that's not in Syria or Iraq. Those were the sights and sounds on the streets of New York City. Last Sunday was the annual Muslim Day Parade, always scheduled right around 9/11. The theme of the parade, as advertised, was Islam and America's shared values. But it was nothing like that. There was support for terrorists in Egypt and Gaza, anti-Jewish propaganda. Pamela Geller is the editor of Atlas Shrugs, and she joins us now from New York. Pamela, I cannot believe that kind of bold, audacious, pro-Islamic State, pro-terrorist propaganda was in the streets of New York. That looked like something out of Gaza or Islamic State Mosul. What the hell was going on in the streets of your city?
It really was incredible. First of all, it's always, as you point out, always takes place, the Muslim Day Parade, around 9/11. And I will say that usually they try and show some moderation, although it's always sprinkled with the black flag of jihad, or as they call it this year, the ISIS flag, or last year the Al-Qaeda flag. It's the flag of jihad. That was not present this year, but, a woman hanging off a gallows was present. Caged girls were present. There were Muslims with what looked like AK-47s. Fake, no doubt, but they were firing into the air and shooting at people. And it wasn't until one of my fellow bloggers, Pamela Hall, went to the police. Because, a kid can't even take a water pistol to school nowadays.
Yeah, not in Michael Bloomberg's New York. I know you have a new mayor now, de Blasio. He's even tougher on these things. Let's go through.
It showed all these pictures of the parade itself, and these guys are holding up what appear to be semi-automatic weapons, and all of this debauchery and evil being just celebrated in the streets. And can you imagine if Christians tried to do this? They would be swarmed by SWAT teams, and probably a matter of minutes, all carted off to wherever. But Muslims could do it all day long. It's fine.
Here's some of these. We've got 6 photos that we selected from your website, and I know one of your fellow bloggers, Urban Infidel, took some of them. Let's go through them one at a time. Let's spend about a minute on each of them, because they're just so bizarre. And it's not bizarre that Islamic terrorists do outrageous and uncivilized things, but what's outrageous to me is that this happened in New York with so little reaction. It's almost like America's being conditioned to this. This is the first one of a woman in a noose, a disgraceful image. What the hell does that even symbolize? We hang women, or is that some... What is that? And there's a guy standing next to her. It's a mannequin, of course, but the guy's... What's that all about?
Yes, and he had the guns as well. Well, it was a very pro-terror rally. It was a very pro-Muslim Brotherhood rally. The symbol of the Muslim Brotherhood, there were pictures of Morsi, and I think, and it's subtle, I grant you, she's supposed to be Egypt.
Oh.
Yes, and Egypt is being hung, when in fact, look, 33 million Egyptians took to the streets and, threw off the Islamic yoke of tyranny of the Muslim Brotherhood. But there was not that at this rally.
I don't know about that. Sorry, I don't believe that Egypt's thrown off the tyranny of whatever. They're worse than ever. They just exchange one evil for another. But I think that they can say that all day long, but with the way that Islam treats women, in particular, don't tell me that's not a not so subtle message going out to women. Look at what they do with these honor killings. This goes on all the time. And so I think that's a not so subtle message to Islamic women. You better stay in line. And here we're going to see more proof of it in a second.
Picture of a map of the region, and Israel is gone. All of Israel. And there's the black colors of the Islamic State, and there's Israel is replaced by Palestine. There's the Egyptian flag, and the black, of course, the colors of Islamic State. Where was that flag? This was just their symbols. They're not even pretending to be moderate.
It was a huge banner that was held by a number of people as they walked down Madison Avenue. That was a huge banner.
Madison Avenue. Here, let's go to the next photo. Here, we've got 6 of them. I want to jam all of them in. Put the next one up, and we'll take a look at it. Now, this is the weirdest. These aren't mannequins. These are real women in hijabs in a cage being driven through New York. This is not Tikrit. This is not...
And these women are they're on their knees. They're sitting in a cage in full, Islamic garb, and they look real sad, real submissive. And again, this is a not so subtle message to the women, because I believe probably compared to women in the Middle East who Islamically know their place, know not to get out of line, the American women they probably have a little more trouble with, even if they're Islamic converts, and the women need to have a not so subtle message. Hey, you know what? You're going to die. You're going to be in prison. You better stay in line, and this is what Islam is, and you better like it, and we're going to send a not so subtle message to all you women out there that this is what we have in store for you.
Mosul, this is not Benghazi. 3 girls in a cage. I mean, is this the Boko Haram float in this terrorist parade? What the hell is that?
I don't mean to laugh. I have to tell you, the symbolism of the caged girls escapes me.
Well, it doesn't escape me. I know what they do. I've read the Quran, and I recommend everyone do. There is the law of Sharia law of taking sex slaves. When you conquer a country, you kill the men, and you take the women as your sex slaves, and that is permitted under Sharia. That's my best guess. I mean, that's what they did with Boko Haram in Nigeria.
Absolutely, 100%. Sorry about the language there. I wish people could just keep it totally clean when they give an interview. I mean, you're on national TV. Let's keep it clean, Anyway, but yeah, I think he brings up a great point. That is a message not just for Islamic women. That is a message for all women. Here's what we have the right to do to you, and we will keep you as sex slaves, and you will be our property, which is what they're considered.
Women in a cage in New York City. Where's the feminists? New York, one of the most feminist cities in the world. I haven't heard a peep about this.
No, the feminists go totally silent when it comes to Islam. The Islam can treat, abuse, debauch, debase their women any way they want. Feminists are totally silent. Totally silent. Total hypocrites.
Well, I have to tell you, there was no media coverage, and if it wasn't for Urban Infidel and Pamela Hall...
Again, no media coverage whatsoever. Just like there was no media coverage about them saying praise Allah. This is in the last, couple weeks. I give you 3 examples. Workplace violence, it's not Islamic related. All the cover-ups of the beheadings and the honor killings in Dearborn, Michigan that we talked about. The cover-up on this other guy that threatened to decapitate the lady. I mean, that hasn't been mainstream news at all either. And now this, no media coverage whatsoever. No media coverage of them at the press conference of them saying praise Allah and reading from the Quran. It's just total hypocrisy. And this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm trying to give this as much coverage as I can in my little sphere of influence.
TRMDD, there would have been no coverage of this whatsoever. Yeah. And this is what's shocking to me. The caged girls, I don't know if it's honor, the honor violence code under the Sharia. Honestly, I don't know. Yeah. But again, each image becomes more astonishing than the next. This is
let's
New
show
York
the next
City.
one. I think the next one is the guns. I mean, in downtown Manhattan, where Mayor Bloomberg has been on an anti-gun sweep and de Blasio's for full gun control. Take a look at this next picture. This is in New York. Now, those are not real...
No, but this is an example of things to come, because like I said, when you disarm a law-abiding populace, the only ones that are armed, the only ones that will have guns, are the corrupt, wicked government law enforcement that will be in place at that time. And I'm not coming down on all law enforcement. I'm just saying that the criminal government in general, okay, not to say that everybody in the government's criminal, but I'm saying the criminal government in general, and the criminals are the only ones that will be armed. And Islam is obviously a bunch of thugs and criminals. That's what they are, okay? The street gangs, they're not going to turn in their guns, okay? Anybody who is a criminal, they're going to hold on to their guns for sure. They're sure not going to turn in nothing. So those, if you totally disarm a society, those are the ones that end up having the weapons, and that's all by design, because then you're an easy target. You're a defenseless, easy target. You and your whole family.
Machine guns. But here you have thugs dressed up in the Islamic State colors of black, hiding their eyes. They don't know. One of them has a mask on, I think.
Yes.
Yes.
with guns, fake guns that police later came in and took away.
Well, let me just say something. They didn't take them away. It wasn't until one of the bloggers, Pamela Hall, went up to the police and said, "Are you really going to let them go down Madison Avenue with those guns?" And they wound up taking these big wooden sticks. But if it hadn't been for her, those guns would have been would have gone down Madison Avenue.
You know what? The boldness here. I mean, there's that Islamic concept of taqiyya, which is lying and deception to sort of get away with things, to sneak through, to deceive the infidel. There's no taqiyya here. These folks are saying what they want. They want women in cages. They want men with guns. They want Israel obliterated. Last photo here is of a...
And again, this is what I'm saying. I really believe that we have just experienced some type of tipping point on a Muslim satanic level because of this, because of the beheading that just happened. These are things that are out in the open now. The other threat beheading, I honestly think the most in-your-face thing, the most audacious thing of all that I mentioned was the press conference, where they were there, had the audacity, when they should have been laying low and being ashamed of their devil death cult. They were out there saying praise Allah and quoting from the Quran while this guy's trying to give a press conference. To me, that's the most in-your-face, audacious thing they did out of the things that I've mentioned. And I really think that we're getting to that point here where that tipping point is starting to occur.
Tank, a little tank. I mean, you would think that someone trying to advertise Muslim Day, commonality of values. Let's show that last tank on the screen, please. There you go. Like, I mean, not even pretending. I mean, it's a goofy paper, cardboard, mache tank. But this is your Muslim Day parade. This is the face you're putting forward. We only have 30 seconds left, Pamela. What does this say about their perception of what Americans will now accept in the streets of the biggest city? It's not even about our perceptions. It's what they think of us that's so telling here. Am I right?
Absolutely. They are emboldened. They were unapologetic. They were blatant. And I believe that it's Obama's sanction of the jihad in Egypt, in Libya, in Syria, and across the world that you're seeing this is what happens. I mean, everything is fluid, nothing is static, and they know there will be absolutely no repercussions. Listen, there have been no repercussions really for the Islamic State. So it's the norming of jihad. Yeah. That's how I see it, Ezra.
Pamela Geller, I'm so glad that you are one voice crying out, stop. I feel like sometimes we're in Germany in the 30s and something is coming and people would rather ignore it and hit the snooze button than to face up to reality. In fact, there are a lot of analogies with the Nazis, aren't there? Pamela Geller, thanks for joining us. More Source coming up.
I thought that was very good and succinct what they got into there. And just further proof of what we're seeing, what we're reporting on today here. I don't like to give you just one report and then just say, okay, well, just take my word for it. I mean, I like to really just layer things to confirm and cross-confirm that this is not something that we're making up here. Now, switching gears slightly here, let's see here. Special report, Obama wants amnesty for murders and rapists. And illegals are raping their way through America's children, illegal aliens. North Carolina is home to 9 sanctuary cities. This is where I live. I didn't even know this. Reports of murders and rapes upon the citizens by illegal aliens is staggering. InfoWars reporter John Bound speaks with NC Fire Info president James Johnson about the massive undertaking regarding his organization's statistical analysis of criminal activity by illegals in North Carolina alone. In light of Obama's push for amnesty, this report serves as a warning of things to come. And here's all of the references for that. Now, I'm going to go ahead and play that short video, but before we do, I'm just going to read. This is actually off this man's website that we talked about. So here we have some statistics. August 14th, child rapist. This is just for North Carolina, okay? 78 confirmed and highly probable illegal aliens, representing 418 different charges of rape against children in NC just in the month of August. Okay, and this is the state that were in here just in North Carolina alone. So, 78 confirmed and highly probable illegal aliens representing 418 charges of rape. Just of rape of children in North Carolina. Okay, fruit of the illegal alien invasion. All of these individuals have a court date scheduled for or were arrested for child rape just in June. Oh, in June, okay. This is the next report here. Many of them with multiple charges, meaning they raped more than one child or raped one child multiple times. And the report for June is 48 individuals with 184 charges. In April, it was 93 individuals. These are all illegal aliens. 93 illegal aliens with a total of 350 charges relating to child rape. That was just for April. May, 73 illegal aliens with 299 charges. July, 74 individuals with 300 plus charges. So this is what we're dealing with. He's got this on his website. It's called the Stolen Lives Quilt. It says honor, remembrance, solidarity. And they have a picture of 3 different people here. I think that this is just a small portion of it. Joe Story of 51 of Lenore, North Carolina, which is really near me, hit by a drunk illegal alien who is now on the run. That was 10/25/2011. Joe is missed by his wife, 3 sons, family, and many friends along with his business associates. And then there's Brittany Blakely, 18 years old of Asheboro, North Carolina, hit by a drunk illegal alien in a stolen vehicle. That was on 10/23/2010. And it shows pictures of him. Brittany is very much missed by her mother, family, fiance, and many friends. Then there's Scott Gardner, 33, of Gaston County, North Carolina. He was hit by a drunk illegal alien. Now we're just talking about child rapes here. These are other things. If you add up all the crimes the illegal aliens are committing, I can't even fathom those statistics. This is just one statistic. Just the most probably egregious statistic, child rape, but just one. Okay? Excuse me. He was hit and killed by a drunk illegal alien with 5 prior convictions. I mean, there's no reason he needed to be deported. He only, or totally in jail for the rest of his life. He only had 5 prior convictions. Okay? Scott is missed by his mother, 2 children, family, and Gaston County students. You see all the evil these types of devils wreak? And this is stuff that's never really reported. This is just all swept under the rug. Oh, it's a illegal alien. We have to protect him. Oh, he's evil. We have to protect him. We can't report on this. It's not politically correct. They might say that we're against Latinos. We can't say anything against them. I'm against evil wherever I see it. Whether a white person's committing it, a Latino, a black person, Hispanic, I don't care. I am going to report on it. This goes further by saying absconders from justice. 3,454 individuals have thumbed their nose at our NC justice system. See the report and view the charges here. That's a whole other thing. I guess people that have fled, maybe they posted bail and they fled. Well, I mean, these people don't have any scruples. They don't have any morals. They don't have any conscience. I mean, they came here illegally. Obviously, there's a big problem with somebody that would go to a country illegally and have no problem staying here and taking advantage of all the multitude of benefits of being an illegal alien and have no conscience about it. You know? I mean, I have a real problem with saying I'm a born-again Christian and I'm a legal alien. Well, don't you have a conscience about what you did? If the Holy Spirit lives inside you, wouldn't that bother you? I know it would me. I'm just saying. I mean, I'm not judging. I'm just saying it would really bother me. You know? But evidently it doesn't bother them. Evidently it doesn't bother them, just totally all of the benefits and all the things they're receiving from the government. I mean, in the fact that they're here illegally and just siphoning off the system. I guess, it's no big deal to them. I don't know. The North Carolina General Assembly voted to override Governor Pat McCrory's veto. So good old North Carolina, General Assembly, they overrode Pat McCrory's veto of the H786 Reclaim NC Act, or the Illegal Alien Jobs Act, and in doing so, they have just passed the largest illegal alien jobs bill in the history of North Carolina. See, the politicians are really on your side. You know, the politicians are making and letting all this stuff, all this evil happen. You can literally lay it all at the politicians' feet. All of this wickedness, you can lay at their feet because they're creating the evil, wicked laws. They're enabling these devils, the Muslims, the illegal aliens, the gays, the pornography industry, you name it, whatever wicked you've got in this country, they're the ones that are enabling them through their wicked, evil laws and through their wicked, evil court systems. And you know what? They're just going to burn all the more hotter in hell because of what they're doing. They think that there's going to be no consequence for all the wickedness they have permitted when they have the power to do something about it. Or at least fight it. So, with the current unemployment rate in North Carolina at 14.9%, this vote was unconscionable. Hey, just let all the illegal aliens come into North Carolina. We want to totally make sure that we give them the jobs and we don't give our own legal population the jobs because we want to reward evil in this country. That has become the norm. So here's the actual, if you want to see the statistics here, he's very, very big on documentation, this man who put this website up. It's ncfire.info, ncfire.info, and I'll give you a link to the website here. He has an email, I got on his email list, and if you want to subscribe to that, but I mean, I understand if you're not in North Carolina, you may not have interest, but what he's doing should be patterned in every state. So let's play this video here. Obama wants amnesty for murders and rapists. That's the name of the video.
New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago have formed a big city coalition to grease the skids for illegal immigration in the United States. This coalition will push our tax dollars along with big corporate donations towards a greater voting procedure, educational assistance, and microloans for illegal immigrants. They are going full steam ahead with a Cloward Piven-induced privileged society that is already destroying the American middle class. The NSA tracks the movements, phone calls, and emails of every U.S. citizen, but we can't know where these illegals are as they continue to miss their immigration hearings by 90%. So where are they? Apparently, a growing number of them have been flooding the southeast of the United States, and they are raping the children of these communities at an alarming rate.
A spokeswoman for the Davidson County Sheriff's Office said USAID was in this country illegally.
Gurau Aguilar faces 3 counts of aggravated sexual battery of a person under the age of 13. Jacobo Gurau faces 1 count of rape of a person under the age of 13.
Police believe...
So these are some of the few that actually make it on the nightly news. I think only the egregious, only the ones they can't sweep under the rug, they're going to report on. But the man that put this website up said you would not believe the amount of digging he has to do every single day just in order to retrieve these statistics because they're so buried, because the news is not reporting on them about these illegal aliens. It's not something that was just put in his lap. It's something you have to just go out of your way to find because it's all being suppressed.
19-year-old Sergio Perez, an illegal immigrant, attacked the woman in her home Sunday.
418 children were raped by illegals in the state of North Carolina in the month of August 2014 alone. I spoke with James Johnson, the founder and president of North Carolinians for Immigration Reform Enforcement, about the history of his organization and methods needed to document this full-blown attack on America's youth.
NC Fire started in 2007, and it came about as a result of me getting injured on the job. As I was going through physical therapy and rehab under workman's comp, I started seeing a lot of individuals who could not speak English but had interpreters with them in the rehab process, in the therapy sessions. And so I started inquiring about, what's going on. And then, the other things you'd see, non-American citizen, obvious people at the grocery stores, paying for 2 or 3 shopping carts full of groceries with a food stamp card and then buying, the last cart's full of alcohol and they're paying for that with wad of cash. And then I started noticing, crime in this newspaper report, crime on this television report here, about Hispanic hyphenated surname individuals creating crimes, and North Carolina has not been a bastion of hyphenated surnames. All these red flags started coming together, and it just led me to the point where, what's going on here? And
So this is the man that started this website that I just quoted the statistics from.
Started looking into it, and the more you look into it, the more you find the effort is to hide it. The crimes by illegal aliens are not compiled by any government agency anywhere in the United States as far as the public being able to access it. So I just decided that, you know what, I'll start cataloging it in North Carolina. And we first started out just listing all the crimes that we could find, and here's how we do it. We just started scouring the web, any kind of news reports, police reports. In North Carolina, there are 100 counties. So the first thing I did was go to all of the county sheriff's departments' arrest records, and they're all online. And then we started going through all of the, like TV station websites, newspaper websites, radio station websites. They'll have a crime section there on every one of those. And obviously, in every county there are cities and towns and municipalities that have their own police agencies. And so all of this stuff is online, and it takes a Herculean effort to try to compile this stuff. The numbers you're seeing now are not nearly all of it, because it's physically impossible for us as an organization with the limited people and resources that we have to actually, check all of those resources.
So, in other words, he's only getting a fraction of the true numbers. The true numbers are way worse. As alarming as they are, just in the child rape alone, the true numbers are actually far worse.
And so we go through every day of every county, of every name from A to Z, and pick out the ones that we suspect of being illegal. And because of the charge, indecent liberties with a child is more prevalent to an illegal or someone from Central America or a Hispanic or Spanish background nation. Now, that's not to say that Americans don't do it too, however. And what we do is once we get the court date, it has the arrest record number, the court docket number, and we take that number and go to the specific county where the person was arrested and get that agency's police report. And on there, it'll say, needs an interpreter for court. Well, that's a dead giveaway that, first of all, the person doesn't speak English. Well, then obviously they 99.9% chance that they're illegal. They're illegally in the country. Now, down at the bottom of all of our reports, underneath all the court dockets, we have listed the articles, the news articles that we find with the links to them, and in many of those, they will actually say this person is an illegal immigrant or being held on ICE charges. Oh, it's killing us, literally and figuratively, in the pocketbook, and literally, people are dying from DWI, hit and run. North Carolina spent, let me get this right, I believe it was $2.2 billion in tax money just to educate, incarcerate, and give emergency medical treatment to illegals in North Carolina alone in the year 2012. That's extra tax money that could be going to our citizens that need it, the elderly, the poor, the whatever. They're inundating our schools. They're inundating our hospitals. It's a mess.
Back in 2006, illegals were responsible for murdering an average of 12 Americans per day and 13 DUI deaths per day. 8 years later, those statistics continue to be swept under the rug as Obama opens the door for total decimation of America's middle class by fiat.
And again, that's why the big reason why this is done. Not only all the wickedness and devils they're literally bringing here in their physical containers called bodies, okay, that are literally these devils and demons. I mean, child rape, you're defiling the land, okay? You literally are. I'm not saying Americans are perfect, but I'm saying these people at a even much higher, the Santa Morarte death cult that they're bringing, that religion that they're bringing here, combining that with Catholicism and these types of things. This is about defiling the land and absolutely annihilating and destroying the middle class to create an ultra elite and a super poor class. And this is what this is all really about.
Bound for Infowars.com.
Okay, so that's that report. I mean, it's just unbelievable here. Okay, so let's continue on. U.S. immigration population hits all-time high at 41.3 million. The number of legal and illegal immigrants living in the United States reached, now this is according to government statistics, reached an all-time high of 41.3 million people in 2013, according to a new report from Immigration Studies. The U.S. immigration population has doubled since the 1990s, with the general population has risen over 20%. The greatest increase over the last 3 years in immigrant population came from, well, they're admitting the greatest increase came from Middle East, and then they said Asia and the Caribbean. And I don't believe that, because look at all the illegal aliens coming up from Central America. That's a total lie. I can believe the Middle East because they're coming up through the lower border as well. But how could you say that you're acting like nobody's coming from Central America or Mexico? Come on, you liars! That's what we're just been seeing here by the thousands. You can't tell me that. I mean, these people would eclipse the number of people that would even be in the Caribbean. Probably, the Caribbean would have to be empty for those numbers to be even comparable. So that's just more lies. They did admit the Middle East, though, was one of the greater demographics that were coming. And, you know, when you see that, you're also equating that with Islam for the most part. Approximately 2.5 million immigrants from predominantly Muslim countries reside right now in the U.S. alone. 2.5 million that ultimately are Muslims that will be waging stealth jihad, and many, many, many of them will go hot when the time is coming. This is all they're admitting to, and they will wage real jihad. And then you've got guys like this last weekend where, hey, let's wage it right now. Let's just start cutting off innocent ladies' heads, you know, in the workplace. Let's just do it. Let's get it on. And this is what we're seeing here. So we got 2.5 million that they're admitting to already here, predominantly Muslim countries. They're pre-positioning, my comment is they're pre-positioning their Islamic army just like they do in every country they invade and defile. This is known as stealth jihad up until the time when it becomes a hot jihad. So that's what we're dealing with here. So, next report. For nearly 3 months this summer, the Obama administration carefully avoided answering questions about what happened to tens of thousands of immigrant families caught illegally crossing the Mexican border and released into the United States with instructions to report back to immigration authorities. Homeland Security Secretary Jay Johnson and others said they faced deportation. Right. But it turns out that the tens of thousands of those immigrants did not follow the government's instructions to meet with federal immigration agents within 15 days. Instead, they vanished into the interior of the U.S. Oh, well, we don't know where they went. Oops-a-daisy. Oh boy, what are we going to do? The Homeland Security Department privately acknowledged that about 70% of the immigrant families failed to report as ordered. Well, I'm sure if they're saying 70%, it's probably more like 99%, because they're liars, and that's all they can do. The government did not specify the total number of families released into the U.S. since October, since only a few hundred families have been returned to their home countries, and limited U.S. detention facilities can house only about 1,200 family members. The 70% figure suggests that the government released roughly, and again, this is a lowball figure, 41,000 members of illegal alien families who subsequently failed to appear at federal immigration offices. Again, all by design, every bit of this stuff. Next report, this is just unbelievable. I want to get into these two, and then I'll cover this last one last. Feds to build fourth residential center for border crossers in Texas. A large new illegal immigrant housing center will be opened in South Texas. The South Texas Family Residential Center will ultimately hold 2,400 individuals, primarily families who were apprehended while crossing the Texas-Mexico border. During their stay at the center, foreigners will be provided with taxpayer-funded medical care, playrooms, social workers, educational services, and access to legal counsel, according to Breitbart. So I'm glad we're taking care of these criminals as they cross the border, and we're giving them all the amenities that they never experienced where probably they came from. We're treating them way better than they've ever been treated in their life. And why on God's green earth would they ever want to go? I mean, when they're given all of this stuff right there. In fact, that's the reason they came here. Come on. Let's be realistic. Next report, military to allow illegals to serve. For the first time, the program known as Military Ascensions Vital to National Interest, or MAVANI, will be open to immigrants without a proper visa if they came to the U.S. with their parents before the age of 16. Because we can't punish them, you know. More specifically, they must be approved under a 2012 Obama administration policy known as DACA. The new DoD policy may be the first phase of a broader government-wide effort to ease pressure on immigrants and create a new path to citizenship. President Obama, frustrated with the failure of Congress to pass any substantial immigration reform, because we haven't let enough illegal aliens into the country. No. He's really frustrated over that. He has vowed to aggressively use his presidential authority, meaning executive privilege, to change the way immigration policies are carried out. So now they're going to allow illegal aliens to serve in the military. Okay? Here's the next one. Harvard grants illegal alien full scholarship. When Dario Guerrero, an illegal immigrant who found out about his status in high school, told Harvard that he was in the country illegally, the school encouraged him to apply and gave him a full scholarship after he was accepted. Well, isn't that wonderful? Isn't it wonderful when you live in a nation that rewards wickedness and evil and punishes righteous behavior, which is basically what happens now every time you turn around. I mean, this is pretty much what we report on a weekly basis, day in, day out. Okay, and we're going to end our study with this last report, and it's entitled, Network of Churches Provide Sanctuary to Illegal Aliens. A network of 24 churches, all 501c3, yoked up with the government, has promised to offer physical sanctuary to illegal immigrants facing deportation, saying they want to create a safe haven that federal officials won't invade. Like the federal officials aren't enabling and encouraging this whole thing to begin with. No, they want to further create another level of protection that the federal officials won't invade as a way of preventing the migrants from being kicked out of the country. You know, they want to reward wickedness, our wonderful 501c3 liberal churches in America, because they know best, you know. They want to reward evil. The movement is the latest effort by activists trying to stop as many deportations as possible after failing to win relief from President Obama, who earlier this month temporarily shelved plans to expand his non-deportation policies. I mean, what's this world coming to, you know? This angered Hispanics and immigration advocates because, you know, we're just not getting this done quick enough, you know. Come on, Obama, get on the stick. Come on, liberal churches. Come on, Congress, Senate, governors, everybody. Come on. Open it all up. Come on. Let every wicked devil on the planet come in. And how dare you? You're a racist if you even say anything to the contrary. What kind of wicked devil are you who would turn away all of these illegal aliens? What kind of animal would do such a thing? Basically is what we're dealing with here. This is like Satan giving me a morality lesson. This is what I equate it to. Satan coming to a Christian or anybody with any kind of morality or righteous stance, coming to them and browbeating them, saying, what kind of animal are you? The children. Keep harping on the children. When that's just an extremely small percentage of what we're dealing with here with the MS-13 gang members, all of the drug cartels, all of the Islamic people. I mean, we're talking a cavalcade of evil and wickedness. So let's go further here. The movement is the latest effort by activists. Okay, I already said that. Dubbed Sanctuary 2014, the movement consists of 24 churches in 12 cities scattered across the country that have all vowed to open their doors to holding illegal immigrants facing deportation. Evidently, there's not enough illegal aliens here for their liking. They want more. All over the nation, communities of faith are saying, we won't break our promise. Promise to who? Satan? Who are they promising this to? Satan? I can't imagine any other entity you would make a promise like this to. And so we declare sanctuary, said the good Reverend Allison Harrington, pastor of Southside Presbyterian Church in Tucson, Arizona. my comment, breaking your promise to who? Satan. I already said that. Here's a good picture of the pastor. The Reverend Pastor Allison Harrington. Now, she might want to see my teachings on Reverend, which is a totally unbiblical title, which is only used one time in the Bible, and it's referring to God only, where the Bible says holy and reverend is he, meaning God. It's not a human title. We shouldn't take it on ourselves. We should consider the pit whence we are dug, not to think of ourselves more highly than we ought to, because we went to some cemetery and we got some title before our name, so we think that we're better than everyone else. And then also my teaching, she probably wouldn't like them too much, but what can women do for the Lord? And what are the biblical qualifications of a pastor, deacon, elder, or bishop, or, any of that? What does the Bible say? Well, she don't care. She don't care. But, she might want to hear that. I posted the links here for her if she wants to read those. But I think it'd probably rub her the wrong way. The Reverend Allison J. Harrington, this is a little bio of her. The Reverend Alan J. Harrison became Southside's pastor in January of 2009, bringing with her a passion for the Antichrist, for Christ, and for social justice. Now, when I saw that word social justice, I wanted to get the true definition of what is social justice. Here's the definition. Social justice is justice in terms of the redistribution of wealth. What is the whole illegal alien thing about? It is about bringing these people in to suck our system dry. Okay? Our resources that the taxpayers have put into it, to suck that totally dry. To totally annihilate the middle class and to put the middle class on the same level as the ultra poor. But the ultra poor, like the illegal aliens in them, they will be at an elevated status when the middle class will be in tent cities. That's the way they want it. Or the middle class, let's say, if there's any type of patriotic bent, they're just going to be in the FEMA concentration camps. So anyway, social justice is justice in terms of redistribution of wealth. This is what her goal is. Now remember, this is her passion for social justice. Redistribution of wealth. Opportunities and privileges within a society. And no wonder she's taken in these illegal aliens, because that's what that movement is all about. She is nothing but a tool of Satan. That's all this good reverend pastor is. A tool of Satan. I said my comment is, kind of like all the free services and privileges given to the illegal aliens for committing the act of entering the U.S. illegally? That's privileges, redistribution of wealth and opportunities and privileges in a society. Well, that's what she's all about. She's all about working with Satan to bring that one world system under Antichrist about. And more, the church is on the same wavelength, has the same goal, ultimately, as the Antichrist and false prophet. That's what we're going to see more and more. The United Nations 2006 document called Social Justice in an Open World. So now we have the United Nations using that term, social justice. It's the full name of this 2006 United Nations document is Social Justice in an Open World. The role of the United Nations concludes that, quote, social justice is not possible without strong and coherent redistributive policies conceived and implemented by public agencies, meaning the government. We're going to rob you. We're going to take your resources. We're going to rob you. We're going to suck you dry, Mr. Person in middle class, or anybody that's not on board with the New World Order agenda, and we're going to redistribute to all of our illegal aliens, to all the Muslims, to whoever is wicked, for the most part. Not saying everybody that is in this programs are wicked. I'm saying that in this particular case, I'm wanting to highlight who they're trying to redistribute the wealth to. And this is what they're all about. She attended the University of California at Berkeley, which is probably the most radical, liberal, nutcase university in all of California. I mean, the land of the fruits and nuts. Berkeley is like ground zero. I'm not coming against my California listeners. I'm just saying, Berkeley's ground zero for the land of the fruits and nuts. When she earned a bachelor's degree in peace and conflict studies with an emphasis on U.S. race relations. After graduation, she became a community organizer in the San Francisco Bay Area. I guess she was following in Obama's footsteps, except she was even in a more liberal, pro-gay area of San Francisco, whereas Obama did it in Chicago. Seeking to approach issues of social concern from a faith perspective, she left community organizing to attend the San Francisco Theological Seminary. Boy, I bet you that cemetery is really on fire for God. San Francisco, the gay capital of the United States and maybe the world, and she goes to their theological seminary. Can you imagine how reprobate and apostate that place is? Where she was a presidential scholar. She also has a blog on the pro-gay, ultra-liberal Huffington Post. Imagine that. So this is becoming more and more and more the norm. This type of abomination, whose bio I just read, okay? This is becoming more and more the norm in the church as they go away from the Word of God, as they say, we don't care what the Bible says, we're going to make this up. If it feels right, do it. And this is what we're dealing with. This is what we're moving toward. This type of disgusting society that we're becoming. I am trying, and I know a lot of other Christians are trying to fight this. Every day, tooth and nail, and understanding that it is a spiritual battle. But the problem that you're going to always run into when dealing with this is that the Bible predicts it was going to be this way, and then it was going to get this way. And unfortunately, ultimately, in the end, this is the way we're moving, according to the Bible. But again, being a good soldier for Christ, occupying until Jesus Christ comes, these types of things, fighting evil, exposing evil, reproving the unfruitful works of darkness, having no fellowship with them, not being ignorant of Satan's devices, lest he get an advantage of us, not being destroyed for lack of knowledge, like the Bible talks about in Hosea 4:6. That really tends to become your central focus, and trying to educate and help others, and win others to the Lord. And a lot of times this type of information can be ice-breaking, because it's so obvious and in your face and flagrant at this point, that it's pretty tough to dispute. I mean, like just the study we did today, it's going to be pretty tough to refute the information that we went into just today. And I've got basically, I don't even know how many, probably over 1,000 individual parts now of studies over since like 2006. So we have that body of teachings that, I mean, it's just really irrefutable. So that's all I have for today. Actually, I wanted to cover way more, but I'm basically just about out of time. And we will go ahead and close this out in a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, we do thank you for this day and this time you've given us. I pray you bless my listeners, Lord. I pray you bless the body of Christ in the name of Jesus Christ, the innocent, Lord. I just pray, God, for your protection, that your angels will go before us to prepare the way, Lord. I pray you intervene in these situations that we brought up today, Lord, not that we just wring our hands about this stuff, but that you literally intervene in these situations that we've went over today. These situations, Lord, that I'm sure are far more grievous to you than they even are to us. The righteous indignation that you have is probably far exceeding anything we could even understand regarding this wickedness and this evil that seems to be pressing in on all sides, increasingly on an everyday basis. I pray, God, you show us how you want us to fight this. Because I'm just a man, Lord. I can't know and always direct, and I can only point people to the Word of God. I pray you show us biblically how you want us to fight these things. I know we fight these things on our knee. I know we need to put on the full armor of God. I know we need to educate other people. I know we need to try to witness to people. But if there's any things, Lord, that I'm leaving out, or if I'm lacking in regard to equipping the body of Christ and the saints, I pray to God you would convict them of that. Convict me of that, Lord. And that we would be able to be even more effective in fighting this evil, in exposing it, and that I pray to God, Lord, you would judge this wickedness, like you said in the Bible, that all men, in Psalm 64, that all men would see and fear and declare the work of God, that they would wisely consider of your doing, and that the righteous would be glad in the Lord and trust in you, and all the upright in heart would glory. I do pray you forgive us for any and all sins we have committed, in any way, shape, or form, as we forgive those who have sinned against us, and that you cleanse us from presumptuous sins and secret faults, that they would not have dominion over us. And we ask all these things in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.